This is why we should break up Disney.
Yeah, we should.
Disney should be broken up. Like, you go on the Disney Plus like fucking website, right? And everyone's seen this. You've got Marvel, you've got Star Wars, you've got Pixar, you've got National Geographic. Right? That's not as egregious because who the fuck?
I was gonna say, like, I didn't know National Geographic was so fucking popular. C-B-A. Mandrake. Do you recall what Clemenceau once said about movies? No, I don't think I do so now. He said movies were too important to be left to the critics. When he said that 50 years ago, he might have been right. But today, movies are too important to be left to podcasters. They have neither the time, the training, nor the inclination for strategic thought. I can no longer sit back and allow sarcasmaholic infiltration, sarcasmaholic indoctrination, sarcasmaholic subversion, and the international sarcasmaholic conspiracy to sap and impurify all of our precious bodily fluids.
See, my favorite part about that is I think you had a pair of chopsticks in your mouth. Right?
Oh, I did have a pair of chopsticks.
And then halfway through the intro, you took it out of your mouth.
Well, no, that's what he did in the movie. Like, Sterling Hayden, like, he had the cigar in his mouth for like half of that like monologue, but then he took it out when he said like, I can no longer allow communists, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's what he did in the movie. I just like copied that. So
got it.
Yeah.
So just time with that, just gonna smoke some chopsticks.
Yeah.
No,
like someone didn't watch the movie, but you know,
I watched it in pieces, in parts.
Okay.
Grudgingly.
Okay. Anyway, hi everyone. My name is Timmy Lee, the non-white one of the group. Welcome to another episode of Sarcasmaholic Cinema, specifically our second episode, the only film discussion and analysis podcast where we're drunk off our own sarcastic assholery. I'm here with the Mandrake to my General Ripper and the white one of our podcast, Zander. Say hi, Zander.
Hi, Zander.
Great.
I was going for an accent there. No.
Yeah, no, this is why I do all the intros, because like, I mean, I'm the somewhat funny one of this group. So,
a little bit funny. I try.
I'm good situationally. Like,
I'm good situationally.
Like, I mean, like, I'm not the funniest guy in the world, but like compared to you, I'm like fucking George Carlin in comparison.
I mean, like,
so.
I can get it. I like when I come up with jokes, it doesn't work. But like when I'm in there, when I've
given you a chance too. When we were still cool cats, like I've given you the opportunity to do intros, and you've just never done it. Like. In a fun way, you know. That's why
I'm just not creative. It's why I'm a critic, you know. I'm actually a podcaster now. I don't know what Clemenceau said about that.
Yeah. What did Clemenceau say about movies? I don't know. Anyway, we've got some shit to talk about. I mean, beyond my recommendation for this week. But before we get into that, we've got some film news. We were supposed to talk about the new Edgar Wright documentary, The Sparks Brothers, but someone fucking slacked on that one. So.
I did. I watched 3 different movies and then found out.
I'm telling you, you're missing out. Like, and I'm not just saying that as an Edgar Wright fanboy. Like, you're legitimately missing out. But whatever. We still got some interesting movie news to talk about in the meantime. Before I gave Zander an extension. I don't want to sound like his professor or whatever.
You could be my professor. I'd be a fan of that.
Okay. What do we got? What news topics are we talking about today, Zander?
Yeah. So this week we are reacting to the latest Hollywood injury. Apparently while filming. Is this
like a reputation injury or like an actual fucking
I think it's an actual injury that probably enhances a reputation.
Okay.
But while Harrison Ford was filming Indiana Jones 5, he actually hurt his shoulder. Right, the dude is 78. Right, he's been in 4 other Indiana Jones movies and a lot of other movies too. So I've seen him in a few other movies.
In a way, like this new one is kind of like a mercy injury because, like, remember in the first, I'm not sure if you remember in the first Indiana Jones movie, he had like dysentery or some shit, and I think he tore his
So I'm looking at a Cinema Blend article right now. Let's go through it, right? So in the Raiders of the Lost Ark, he tore his ACL, got punched, and got dysentery.
Nice.
In the Temple of Doom, he ruptured spinal discs while on the back of an elephant. And filming The Fugitive, he literally tore his ACL, right? And then in The Force Awakens, broke a leg, and then just to drive it home, he hurt his shoulder.
He had an injury in The
Jones
Force
5.
Awakens.
He did.
But he literally did nothing in The Force Awakens.
I mean, he did just kind of stand around and like let Adam Driver be Adam Driver, which was fine because I like Adam Driver. But yeah, apparently he broke his leg. So it was an onset injury in 2014. You got to think about it. The dude is 78 and doing his own action stunts.
Yeah, I mean, he's not like Jackie Chan where he's like he'll literally like risk his life and shit, but in a way, like I respect actors who like take the. I mean, I'm not saying that they should like risk their life and like potentially die. Like that's not obviously not what I'm saying, but like actors like Tom Cruise, Keanu Reeves, like Harrison Ford, like these actors are willing to go the extra mile. Like they're willing to like put themselves in like dangerous and like physically demanding positions, like particularly like a lot of the action scenes and stuff. Like and like I applaud them. Like it makes the movie, like knowing them that they're the ones in those situations, like makes the movie more exhilarating. It builds more tension because you know it's not some shitty stunt double. It's like it's actually them like in the dangerous situation that they're in. So
I mean, my take is like I don't think like Tom Cruise can use a stunt double because everyone would be able to tell it's a stunt double that's running and not Tom Cruise. I definitely think that like actors when they are willing to put their body on the line, right? Like that's really powerful stuff. I think shows a dedication and an immersion in the role that I think you get a lot of actors who like method act and try to take their character off the set, right? I think that's really cool. But like for something like an action film, right? Like being like accepting the risk and maybe feeling fear and like actually like feeling that emotion and that I think that enhances what you put on screen, you know?
Yeah, like
it also makes
call
you
me
badass.
like call me an old asshole. But like I really wish more actors, especially those who like have more physically demanding and like are more in like action oriented roles, like what I love about sort of the old silent clowns, you know, Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, Harold Lloyd, and stuff like that. Like they like there's no like computer generated effects. There was no like, you know, CGI bullshit to like help them with their stunts. Like when they're in, you know, really dangerous situations, specifically like Buster Keaton, like that's them putting their lives on the line. That's them like, you know, risking their bodies, you know, for what would be a dangerous act. But because they took that mile, it makes their films that much more engaging. It makes their films that much more.
See, and I think in the silent era, right? Like I've been wanting to watch more silent films, right? But I think in the silent era, like you had a lot of expressiveness and emotiveness, right? Because the technology wasn't there to like create cool CGI or like have a lot of really cool, interesting cuts, right? Like it was just harder, right? So it was more reliance on,
and they had
the
no
actor.
dialogue to give. So like it was not only did they have to physically put themselves in dangerous situations, but they had to act primarily through their body language. So it's even more difficult. And like I wish like I mean not to say like the Mission Impossible movies like you know like should be silent films or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like I think we should just give a shit more, you know, like we should put more effort into sort of like those, you know, more exciting, you know, more actor driven like action roles, because it's like if we could do it in the past, then like we certainly should be able to in the future. Like we have more like safety precautions, we have more sort of like, you know, ways to like protect the actors and stuff.
I think that like we need more dedication, right? Like I feel like action scenes today are like really formulaic, right? Like it's the Jason Bourne spiel where like a lot of shaky cam, right? And there's a lot of really cool like choreography. Like come on,
those movies are the exception though, because like they're not hiding the action scenes. Like you can clearly tell that it's Damon like doing the action stunts, well at least like a good portion of them. Like the shitty like Bourne ripoffs that followed, like the Taken movies, you know, like the first Hunger Games, like all these shitty like action movies that like shook the camera because like either they can't direct action, the actors can't do the fucking fight scenes, or because they think it's cool or some shit like that. It's like I cannot stand shaky cam, and it's like now suddenly we're like Hollywood's like, oh, maybe people don't like shitty camera work. Maybe people actually do like clear long shot takes of action scenes that are beautifully choreographed. Huh? Who could have known? Like, what the fuck? Like, of course we've wanted that. Like, oh God.
Yeah. Like I don't know. I think I love seeing this kind of dedication. I'm a big Tom Cruise stan. I think I've said this on the pod before. I've told you this.
Yeah.
I'm just admire like Like I just admire Harrison Ford for his like dedication, right? The dude is 78 years old. Like we haven't like talked about that enough. The dude is 78 years old and he's doing his own action scenes, right, for an Indiana Jones.
And apparently they're not killing off Indiana Jones in this new Indiana Jones movie. So like theoretically, if they were going to do another Indiana Jones film, like I don't know how the fuck like they're going to give, like imagine Indiana, like Harrison Ford, like 103, he's still doing the action scenes himself. How would that even work out?
I don't want to see like more Indiana Jones scenes.
It was already unconvincing in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, like him doing the action scenes in Kingdom. Yeah, like already unconvincing. Like the fight scene where like he beats Vladimir Putin into like an anthill or whatever, like that was already unconvincing. Like I don't know how they're gonna make it.
I just remember like the Shia LaBeouf scene, like bring a knife to a gunfight. Right? Like, I just
Transformers boy.
Oh yeah. We need more Shia LaBeouf in our Indiana Jones movies.
No. Shia LaBeoufing.
Yeah, I don't know. I just can't wrap my head around why they're making the Indiana Jones 5 like that. I don't know why they made number 4. Why are they making a number 5? I mean, I love the fact that that Harrison Ford gets to be a badass, but like, why the fuck? I just don't understand. You know,
I'm just confused. Like, why? Like, why are they making another Indiana Jones movies? And like, you have to like, you guys have to understand. Like, Indiana Jones is my hero. Like, in terms of like movie heroes, like a movie character we look up to. Like, Indiana Jones is my hero.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we go to his school, University of Chicago. It's like Indiana Jones was like I never saw any of the Bond films. Like I never grew up watching Bond movies, so like I have no idea like what that's like. But like Indiana Jones is like our American response to James Bond. Like he's our James Bond, like this like sort of gruff, action-packed adventurer who's willing to stand up to the bad guy, but also get involved in like some crazy like adventures. And like there's something inherently charming and likable about Indiana Jones. Like that's why the first 3 films worked. And then that's why the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull didn't work, because we were like, fuck it, let's make another one, even though Indiana Jones is like old as shit. And like now he's even older, so it's like, what the hell's gonna happen? And it doesn't help that Disney is fucking running the show now, because if Star Wars was anything, it's that we cannot trust Disney with any fucking like global property, because look what happened to Star Wars 5 years ago. That was the hottest shit in the world. Now they fucked it to the ground so badly, like no one gives a fuck anymore. And I'm so concerned. I'm so concerned.
I can tell you don't give a fuck at all about Star Wars, Timmy. I can tell you don't give a fuck at all. No, I do
like Star Wars. You have to understand, like A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, like up there in some of my favorite movies of all time.
I think those are like the only 2 good movies from the Star Wars.
Those are the only 2 good Star Wars movies. Yeah. I seriously do not give a shit about Star Wars anymore, because Disney made me so disinterested in them, and I'm so afraid that Disney is going to do the same thing to Indiana Jones. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I can't be the only one upset about this. I seriously can't. Like, I feel like I'm crazy. I cannot be the only one pissed off about this. It's crazy. Oh God.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I am excited for more injuries from resident badass Henry Ford. Harrison Ford.
I guess,
why do I keep calling him Henry Ford? Oh, because
no, that's his real name, Henry Phones Jr. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think I was thinking of like the automobile.
Oh, you were thinking that.
Yeah.
No, in the his real name is Henry Jones Jr.
It's like Ted Cruz. His real name is Raphael. I find to be mildly funny.
I wouldn't know. Ted Cruz does his own stunts, by the way. His greatest stunt was when he fled Texas after a snowstorm. So
I think you stole that one. That's great.
Yeah. I stole it from myself. I made that joke, asshole.
See, maybe it's just the demand side. Like, why are we seeing these movies? Like why are we watching them? Like, if we don't want that, why are we watching? Huge
demand for Indiana Jones to begin with.
Yeah. But like, oh my god, like 1980s, 90s nostalgia. Like we're gonna
like. I care about Indiana Jones because like I love Indiana Jones, but I didn't know everyone else.
It's like one of those franchises that like I don't remember that well. Like I saw Indiana Jones actually on a date. I saw Indiana Jones on a date like 2 months ago, and it was surprisingly good. Like, what the fuck? It's like one of those childhood movies that stand the test of time, I think, for me. Like Back to the Future. Like I was really intrigued, but like I'm definitely gonna watch 2 and 3. I don't want to watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull again, because that was the one I remembered pretty well before watching Indiana Jones 1.
I will say, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull like isn't the worst fucking thing in the world. I will say that. Like, it was so weird because like they actually made Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, like they put it in development right after Lucas finished Revenge of the Sith. In fact, holy shit, the prequel trilogy and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out in the same like decade, like that's holy shit.
I mean, I'm just convinced like Disney saw like the History Channel aliens meme and was like Indiana Jones sequel. Like I'm convinced.
Well,
That's what they
Disney
saw.
didn't make that. This was before Disney like acquired Lucasfilm. Like, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was the last Indiana Jones film before Disney.
Oh, really? So it got
'Cause, like,
acquired? Oh, wow. So it's actually like George Lucas trying his best.
yeah, like
Oh,
you have
that's a
because
shame.
like
I don't know what that says about
because
George Lucas.
Lucasfilm is technically
Yeah.
like its own studio before Disney
Yeah,
acquired
yeah.
it. That's why the Fox logo played in like all the Star Wars films before Disney bought the rights to Lucasfilm. That's why like Paramount's logo was like in all of Indiana Jones movies, because like, Lucasfilm itself was developing all these movies. They just needed like an actual studio to like distribute these movies like both domestically and worldwide. So,
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, I'm just like tired. Like we're gonna talk at the end of the show today about like the movies.
yeah,
We're
we have
looking forward
more to
this
say
year.
about this.
We
Don't
have more
worry.
to
Yeah.
say, and I'm just like, why is Indiana Jones 5 happening? Like, I love Harrison Ford. I love him as an actor. I've seen him in some good stuff. Like, let him be a badass and break more things.
And that's the worst part about this Indiana Jones 5 thing. It's like, I don't want this. But at the same
See,
time,
this is why we
Disney
should
knows
break
how to
up
pull my
Disney.
heartstring.
Disney should be broken up.
Yeah,
we
should.
need more competition. Like,
Do you
if
want to lead
Disney,
the discussion
like, you go on the
this?
Disney Plus like fucking website, right? And everyone's seen this. You've got Marvel, you've got Star Wars, you've got Pixar, you've got National Geographic, right? That's not as egregious because who the fuck cares about National Geographic? But
I was gonna say, like, I didn't
come
know
on,
National Geographic
why
was so
does
fucking
has
popular.
Disney like acquired all these properties and like we're so fucking like tolerant of it? I mean, yes, money, because we're all gonna go watch the Indiana Jones 5th, 6th, 69, right? Like I think like literally if just Disney did not exist and was separated into like 3 or 4 studios, you would not see this sequelization. Like let them have Marvel. Let them have Marvel because I love the MCU. Like let them have Marvel.
They can even have
I mean, I feel
Pixar
like
if they
Pixar should be
want.
independent.
Like,
I don't know.
but I honestly think that but yeah, I think Fox should be its own studio again. I seriously think Lucasfilm should also be its own studio again. Like, it's amazing that Disney gets to be the way it is. Like, for a country that claims to be the most capitalist state in the world, like, this is such bullshit. Like, this is like the
if you're
opposite of what
pro
capitalism
market,
should be.
you should
Like,
be pro antitrust. That's how I feel.
yeah, like, yeah, and people say that we're like
Break
fucking
them up.
socialists because we want
Break
to take
them
money
up.
from the rich.
Break
Yeah.
them up.
We need another
Oh, yeah.
we need
Oh,
another
yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt. Like, Teddy Roosevelt, like, basically he didn't just introduce antitrust laws, he basically got a fucking
he
bat and then
spoke
beat the
softly
shit
and
out of
carried a
like
big
all the
stick against
oil
big
companies
corporations in Latin
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's really, really good. I love him.
Yeah. We did not expect to like tirade away from like we started out as like old man Harrison Ford like got injured, and then it just like expanded into fuck Disney. So to good health to Harrison Ford, but fuck Disney.
So
yeah,
Timmy,
anyway, yeah.
In a not so great segue, what did you recommend this week?
So for this week, I recommended Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. For the sake of length and for the rest of this conversation, we're just going to call it Dr. Strangelove.
Can I call it Doctor Strange? Would that be a better diminutive?
Shut the fuck up. Yeah, anyway, Dr. Strangelove's directed by Stanley Kubrick, my favorite director of all time. Not one of, literally my favorite director of all time. And it stars Peter Sellers, George C. Scott, Sterling Hayden, bunch of other people, and a young James Earl Jones.
I wouldn't say like it starred James Earl Jones. I think James Earl Jones had like 6 lines. Yeah. he's the token black dude. There we go. It's 1963. Like, this is so progressive. Yeah.
I'm glad we got to include that one black guy in a, whatever. It's the 60s, I'm sure one black guy was already like considered diversity back in the day. Anyway, basically the basic premise of this movie. I mean, we're spoiling the movie as always, so if you haven't seen it,
beware,
come back,
monsters
watch the movie,
be
come
here.
back. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, it basically, a crazy general called Jack D. Ripper, not so subtle, basically goes insane and he launches nuclear weapons into Russia, and both the United States and the Soviet Union have to, team up and,
he really cared
save
about
the world from
precious
nuclear
bodily
apocalypse.
Fluid.
And Yeah, well, we'll get to that. And yeah, as I mentioned before, I love Stanley Kubrick. He's my favorite director. I don't think he's ever made a bad film. I haven't seen all of his films. There are like three more I need to see, like Lolita, Paths of Glory, and Barry Lyndon. But like from all the films I have seen from him, like they're all like at the very least great. But like some of my favorite movies of his, like at least most of them are like on my favorite films of all time. And I think Doctor Strangelove is my third favorite Kubrick film. I have to think about that because who knows, maybe Barry Lyndon and Paths of Glory might be better. But like, yeah, Doctor Strangelove is my third favorite Kubrick film of all time. It's amazing. It's like it's this satiric take on like Cold War paranoia and nuclear warfare. It's presented like a stylistic,
So
like
it's a mockumentary. It's
60s
The
propaganda
Office.
noir
50
film.
years too early.
Yeah, but it's like, but the humor, it's considered a comedy because the humor comes from the entire irony of the situation. It's like, this is funny because everything is happening is so fucking absurd and stupid that you can't believe this happened in real life, but it did. And like, that's what creates the humor of the film. And like, that's why I think this is easily like, I consider it to be one of the best like comedies of all time. It's just like, yeah, but I always have more to say about it, but like, you know, direction wise, it's amazing. You know, the cinematography is astounding. Peter Sellers gives great three performances, but George C. Scott might have given my favorite performance of the film. I think you agree with me on that. But yeah, the writing was solid. You know, like they're I don't know, like
Timmy, are you ready to give your rating?
I can't think of like a single flaw. I mean, obviously I am, but like I honestly can't think of a single flaw
I think for me, like
this film. So
I
yeah,
empathize with that
yeah.
perspective. Anyone who follows me on Letterboxd who's not a 5 out of 5. I think it's very technically masterful, right? Like I love the direction. I think it's well written. There's so many comedic moments where I was laughing my ass off. It's really interesting to like to think about thematically, analytically, right? Like it's a movie we can talk about. Oh, it makes this commentary about this diplomacy and this military and this about sex and whatever, right? But it just didn't resonate with me. Like I don't know what it is, but like the like Kubrick's early movies that I've seen, right? Like I've only seen 5. I think so. What I have for comparison here is I've seen 2001. I've seen Doctor Strangelove twice now. I've seen Eyes Wide Shut. I've seen The Shining. I think so 4. And of and Full Metal Jacket.
And Full Metal Jacket.
And of those movies, I think like the later Kubrick, like the Kubrick of the 80s, is the Kubrick that I kind of vibe with a little. Like I just for whatever reason, just the movie didn't settle with me. I didn't find it to be like hilarious where I was laughing, cackling my ass off the whole time. Like people have told me, I thought I thought there was a little bit of a disjunction between like the how bleak it felt and how the humor tried to land. Like it didn't feel like it would compliment me. Like to me, like the cinematography was a little unsettling, right? I just there are a lot of shots where it's just like fixed in one corner where you have characters all in frame that don't do anything. Like there's literally a scene where like Mandrake and General Ripper are just like sitting awkwardly next to each other. Like I felt like there was a lot of filler is what it felt like. And it maybe it's because it's supposed to be humorous, but like I didn't feel that humor consistently. It was very sporadic. Yeah.
You say that there's filler, then I mean, I don't agree with that, but like, let's assume that you're correct. If there's filler, then like, what are you suggesting we should cut from this film? Like, the movie's already short. It's like barely an hour and 30 minutes. So like, I don't really know what filler there is to cut.
Like add more, make the pacing of scenes a lot faster. Like there are a lot of moments where just like,
but the film's already an hour 30
where there
minutes.
are pauses,
it's already fast paced.
Right? Like
so I don't
scenes
really
with Mandrake and Ripper where they're just kind of like sitting there, right, being awkward. Like the whole end, yeah.
But if you cut that out, though, like you take away like the situational awkwardness and irony of the film. Like the comedic effect of the film is like you know how in comedies like there's like a straight man and like a funny man and stuff like that. Yeah. In this film, every single person in the movie is the straight man. Like there is no like there are certainly like exaggerative, like more energetic characters like Buck Turgidson and Dr. Strangelove himself.
Timmy, I agree.
There's still like
I'm sorry. I'm going on with this. Like I'm really sorry. I get that you know that I'm sorry. Like do you understand that? I'm sorry.
No, I'm more sorry.
But we can both be sorry. It's fine.
Well, we're both sorry.
We can both be sorry. Yeah, we're both
We are
equally
both
sorry.
equally
I get
sorry.
it. I'm sorry that my opinion of this film like isn't as high. Like I get all that, right? Like I don't have anything to like criticize from the movie artistically. Like I get the intention behind having the scene where like Mandrake and Ripper kind of sit awkwardly. I get, yeah,
I don't know.
get
And
the
also because like in terms of comedy,
Mhm.
like this is more my like sort of comedic grade. It's like I'm so like the mainstream like shitty like Judd Apatow like man babies like screaming loudly, like that's not funny to me. Like people saying pop culture references out of the wind, like that's none of that is funny. Like the reason why I found this particularly funny is because like when you think about what's going on and when you think about sort of the situational irony that's at hand, like throughout the events that's happening, like you can't but help wondering, like this is fucking hilarious. Like it's
I mean,
so
like I get
absurd
that.
that you
Like there are
can't like
particular moments of
help but realize that this
poignancy where
happened.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I
So
understand why how this is working and what it's going for. Like the one scene where Mandrake, like where I think General Ripper has his hand on Mandrake's knee and his arm wrapped around Mandrake, and he's just explaining to him about like how he came up with the theory of like the fluoridation. Like it just like Mandrake just looks so
I think
fucking like uncomfortable, right? Like it's so funny. Like it's
yeah,
so
that's how
funny.
we would
Like I mean,
react to that situation. And I want to talk a
yeah.
little bit about General Ripper because like
I think he's the
this
best
man is like
character,
I
to be
think
honest. I
if
think Sterling Hayden's
this
the best character. Yeah.
really because like I think he's the in terms of like the themes that play out the film, like one of the big themes that plays
Mhm.
is like sexual repression and like how sex intertwines with like with war. Like his speech about how like, oh, you know, like
You
communist
mean Sarcasmaholic
infiltration and
infiltration?
precious bodily fluids, it's like yeah, like he literally is trying to start nuclear apocalypse because he has a fucking flaccid penis. Like that's literally why he starts the nuclear apocalypse. And like he's trying to compensate for that. He has this big ass cigar in his mouth and he has this huge ass machine gun. He's clearly compensating for his
Like
fucking
it just for
flaccid
me,
penis.
like
It's
General
so
Ripper's like
funny. And he didn't have to
performance
say
was,
that.
aside
Yeah.
for maybe like Turgidson, like Turgidson was also yeah, he was very funny,
Also
very
equally
good.
funny.
Yeah, he's the big
You'll see the
board.
big
Or
board.
we're like, I've got 5 points and we're just gonna stick it to the Ruskies, right? Like I really liked like, yeah,
Premier Kissoff is an
all these
atheistic
peons. Like
communist loving
he was
trash.
consistently his performance. Like he fucking like jumped to just stay in character. Like he fell on his back and stayed in character. And I was watching on Amazon Prime and there's a little trivia thing, right? And it was like Stanley Kubrick thought he was being in character, so he intentionally included it in the film. Like he intentionally fell over, which I think is hilarious. Yeah.
Well, I want to add to that. I think like a really great fact to know about this film is like some of the actors were not aware that this is a comedy. Like Slim Pickens played it straight, not because like he's like a comedic mastermind. Like he actually thought he was making a genuine war film. That's why he's so
Slim
serious in
Pickens
the
is
movie.
the guy
But
with the
like
cowboy hat and the
George
plane.
C.
Got it.
The guy with the cowboy hat, yeah. But like George C. Scott, who plays Buck Turgidson, he was aware he was in a comedy, but he didn't. He was very like self conscious about like looking like a fucking idiot
can
or
tell.
whatever. So like Stanley Kubrick like made this like he made this promise to him where he's like, hey, let's do some tryout let's do some like some warm up takes, like where you like go super crazy, go super like out there, and then like the real takes, quote unquote, will be like the more serious, like quiet ones that you do. But the takes that Kubrick uses for the final film are like those crazy warm up takes that George C. Scott used, and he promised he would never use them, but those are in the movie, and that's why George C. Scott was like so pissed off with this film. Like he swore to never
That's
work
really
with Kubrick
funny.
again.
I mean,
because he felt
I think
tricked,
it's
but,
worth
like,
it. Like those, it's
but I
so
feel
funny,
like those
it's so over the top. It's
yeah,
so
those
well
over
done.
top performances added
Yeah.
to the movie, and he's
Yeah.
great.
So,
He
but like
probably gave my
the issue
favorite
with the
performance
humor
of the
for
entire
me is
film, if I'm being
it
honest.
doesn't.
Yeah,
It feels like it ebbs and flows. Right, like there are as many scenes that feel kind of awkward and unnecessary to me as there are like, oh, really
like what?
situationally hilarious. Like I love the scene with Melvin Muffrey or whatever his name is, with Merkin Muffrey,
Merkin Muffrey.
when he's like, oh yeah, but like it just there are as many scenes where like Merkin Muffrey is having really funny banter. What Merkin
Muffley.
Muffley? Oh,
You
I'll
said
practice.
Muffrey. It's
Merkin
Muffley.
Muffley.
Merkin Muffley.
Merkin
Yeah,
Muffley.
Merkin
Merkin
Muffley.
Muffley. Are you pleased
There
now?
you go.
Perfect. There are many scenes where like Merk and Muffley is like having funny banter with the premier and on the phone with Soviet Union, like poking fun at his diplomacy, as there are like, oh, I'm just on the plane and like there's just a practical plane flying, or that they're going through what the fuck they have in the survival kit, or what's going on with the bomb, or like I'm like seeing numbers that we'll make the primary target A, or like they're, oh, don't like, what are you doing here? I need to get the president on the phone, right? Like I just it just there are a lot of things that fell flat with me, right? And that didn't feel like situationally successful. You know, like why am I supposed to laugh at like their inventory check before they drop the bomb, or why am I supposed to laugh when Colonel Guano, right, or Sergeant whatever, Sergeant Guano is like, oh, you yeah, there are like particular, it felt kind of Marvel-y. Like there are particular moments that are funny, right? Like
no.
You
Okay,
don't think
I'm
like it's private
that.
property,
the moment you said that,
or you're gonna have to answer to Coca-Cola. That doesn't sound like quippy or like dialogue driven comedy. No,
no, because like no, like the difference between like when the fucking Marvel movies do it, like they know like they're being
this movie doesn't
like,
know it's being
you know how like
tongue-in-cheek,
old
Timmy?
action movies. No, it knows it's being tongue in cheek, but like the comedy is that everyone is playing it straight. Like they don't know that they're in a comedy. Like everyone is so fucking committed to their lines. They believe so much in what they say that the situational. No, I'm saying in the context of the film, like the actual plot and narrative of the film, like the characters themselves, like are like grounded in reality in an otherwise absurd and like crazy wacky ass world. Like the Marvel characters just say fucking quippy lines because it's like, haha, we're funny because Marvel movies
think
and
like
stuff. Like, yeah.
like the events of the film are definitely not realistic, right? It's definitely very extreme, right? Like and people say things that are like
I don't think it's
very,
that
I don't know,
unrealistic.
explicit
Like
and crazy and
I
stupid.
know
Yeah.
the fact that the United States government like looked at this film and
I
they
want
were
to talk
like,
about the
"Hey,
opening
that's a pretty
crawl.
good
Like,
idea. Maybe
like
one
did
director
I
should
think I
do
remember, like, did the Air Force ask
very
Stanley
sexual."
Kubrick to like put this in the movie? like the little, like
What?
this offense, like the events in this film are not possible anymore because the U.S. military have taken steps to change it. Or like the opener, right? Where's that trigger warning
I mean,
or
I'm sure
content
he
warning?
had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he had to. Well, because like you'll have to understand that like the film came out during like the peak of the Cold War. So like I mean like if I was living my life knowing that the world might end from like fucking nuclear
See,
apocalypse,
that's one
like
of the
something
things.
like
Like
that would probably be
I wonder
reassuring
how
to me.
much of
So
like the reason why the movie's comedy didn't resonate with me is just a function of our lived experiences being so different. Yeah.
see, I think I disagree with that because like I mean, I agree with you. Like I never lived in the
Wow, I
60s.
didn't
Like
know
I have
that.
no idea about like Cold War paranoia. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, but like the movie nonetheless is still funny because it's still relevant because like if you even if like if you let's say take the Cold War out of it. Let's say the movie's now in like, you know, World War II or Vietnam or something like that. The jokes and like the thematic ideas of the film is still prevalent no matter what conflict you put it in because like in the end the movie's exploring this idea of like when we think of war, it's this, oh, it's like this idealized battle between like warriors and stuff like that. But in reality, it's just a bunch of fucking man babies who are like so either like so sexually repressed or so fucking immature that they're willing to like wave around their big nuclear weapons like they're fucking toys against each other because, you know, they're trying to prove their manhood, they're trying to prove their manliness, their machoism compared to one another. It's like that's what war is. War is just guys in like a huge dick measuring contest, you know, like immature fuckheads
I mean, like
who are
that's the
just
thing.
like so insecure
I
about
love
their
this film's
sexual
satire,
oppression. Yeah,
right? Like
so
I can tell, right, and it works. Like that they are deconstructing and representing like these tropes of like, oh, the military man who is authoritative and serious and is masculine and has leadership, right? And we're going to war because of patriotism and symbolism and all these big abstract ideals, right? And we're going to ignore all of the stupid shit that goes into it and all of the human costs. Like I get that, right? Like all of these people who are making these world changing decisions are like fucking stupid asshole repressed idiots, right? Like this is
mhm.
works. It's fine, but it's not funny to me. I don't know.
And I
Yeah.
think And I think Buck Turgenson's the biggest example of that. Like, even near the end, where basically the world is going to fucking explode, he's still like, oh, but when we go underground, we still got to figure a way to
There's a
take over the commies. We
mine
still got to find an
shaft gap.
advantage over the commies.
That sounds funny.
Shaft
Yeah.
gap. Like, he's still thinking about that. Like, that's what's even funnier about the situation, that even though the world is about to fucking explode, like dickheads like Turgenson are still trying to find ways to take advantage over
there's
the
a lot of
Russians.
criticisms
That
of
doesn't
like
fucking matter
security
anymore.
mindset,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
the airplane, like the pilots, right? Like,
And in a way, this film is like commenting on war hawks in general. Like, people were like so like war hungry. It's like, oh, we gotta go to war. We gotta
we need
like,
power and
invade and stuff like that.
geopolitics
It's like a
because
criticism.
we need all the brown people of the world to be slightly on top of them, right? And it's gonna I get that, right? And I think it's good, but I feel like there's a little bit schizophrenic between like the comedy and the representations, right? Like, either go all in and don't give me like this cinematography that's like a lot of wide angles and a lot of like dark lighting, and it's just, and like it just feels really
See,
bleak
this is
to
where
me,
I
but
don't
it
understand.
just
Like, what is
the comedy doesn't feel like it
the
works.
bleakness? The comedy is in that bleakness. Like, it's so like this entire situation is fucked. But like, that's what's funny about like the whole situation, the fact that like the world might explode, yet these like fucking sexually repressed like dumbass man babies are just fretting over nonsense. Like, that's the biggest joke of the movie. It's like, the world is about to end, yet these people are so fucking incompetent that they can't prevent like world destruction from happening. And Dr. Strangelove is like the literal embodiment of that. Like, he's like, when we were first introduced to him, he's like like the doomsday device is such a magnificent thing to behold, and shit. Like, he's so giddy about the idea of
But
like the
the whole
doomsday
point
device, and like
is that
like
you
so
shouldn't
in
make
love.
it public. You need to make it public, right? And I like, one of my favorite lines is,
Yeah,
"Oh, the premiere was going to announce it on Monday." Like that was pretty funny.
that was funny.
Like
That
I
was
just,
funny.
but I
Yeah,
feel like Doctor
yeah.
Strangelove's character, it just feels really odd to me.
Hold on, but sorry, before we get into that, I want to like press you more on the cinematography. Can you explain that to? I still don't understand what you're saying about like the cinematography is like bad
I
or
mean,
something. Like, I don't
so
really get
I
that at
feel
all.
like an
Can you
effect of
explain
the
that?
cinematography is the tone, right? And the mood, right? Like, the tone to me is like really stark, really bleak, like really pessimistic, right? And I think that happens because of how small everything looks, right? Like, you have the war room and you have like you have very intentional decisions, I think, to like depict the whole fucking table,
Yeah, I was
right?
gonna say, don't you think
Right,
most of this,
I mean,
all of this is
I'm
on
not saying it's
purpose? Like,
intentionally, like
yeah,
it's making mistakes, right? I mean, I'm questioning the effect, not the intention or the choices being made. Or like the scenes with Mandrake and Ripper, where they're in the room, and just like the camera's in one spot and they all walk around the same spot. It's just, and just he's going from door, like it feels to me that's static, that very distant, right? Kind of like you see this with the planes, right? And how you constantly are cutting to like the plane going outside. You see this with like the shots are outdoors, right? Where you establishing shots are literally just like pictures of big things on the base that vaguely resemble penises, right? Like it feels like they're right.
all of
Like
this adds to the comedy.
what I'm saying is like
The
isn't
entire
so
like,
much about
yeah.
like the cinematography is bad, right? I'm just saying that the effect that's creating is bad for the purposes of the comedy in my mind. It doesn't work well together with me.
But does it not create the
I don't
dramatical,
think
the
so. I
situational
mean,
irony that permeates throughout the film?
for me,
It
the
totally
things that are
does. Like,
funny are like when there's an awkward facet of the performance, or when there are lines that poke fun at like things that like diplomacy, right? Like the cinematic elements don't really add to it for me. I would have loved to, like, in the war room, not have a bunch of random
no,
extras like
no, no, no.
in the
Okay,
scenes where like in like Turgensen, the name of his actor, like where in Turgensen gets, yeah, like where
George C.
Scott,
Scott.
like
Yeah.
in Turgensen, like is right up close. You get to see he's a very expressive performance. Like, he's fallen over, he's gesticulating, he's loud, right? But like but you don't go close to it, right? Like, I just,
Yeah.
like, there are
Again,
funny scenes that should be
okay.
funny for me but aren't, because like you just have a bunch of extras in the shot. Like, I don't know, like, yeah.
Okay. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, comedy is subjective. So like I'm not gonna try and tell you like I'm not gonna break down a joke for you because then like humor wouldn't be funny at all.
Why do we
Like,
do a podcast
I
then? I think the whole
I
point is you
don't
want to break
like
down this shit.
well
Yeah.
no, okay. I don't agree with this idea that like okay, so before I get into this, so let me ask you this. So you're saying that if the film was directed like as if like any other regular comedy, you're saying like
No,
you would
I'm
get
just
the
saying
jokes
I
more,
don't
like you
think
would
the
find it
the
funnier, like
cinematography like enhances the comedic beats, right? Like comedy's very rhythmic, right? And the cinematography is very static,
but you have to
right?
understand this isn't like a Judd Apatow
I mean,
movie
I'm
where
not
like
saying that
man
like, oh, it
babies are
should be The
screaming and
Hangover
like make
or
pop culture
it should be Dumb
references.
and
Like
Dumber, right? Or even Marvel movies, right?
is yeah, the humor, yeah, it's not like Step Brothers or like Anchorman. Like the humor isn't necessarily what the people are saying, although that in of itself is funny. The humor comes from like the complete irony of the entire movie, what's going on. The reason why we don't have like a lot of like extreme close-ups on, you know, Buck's face or something like that, it's because like the shit that's also surrounding him is just as important as conveying the comedy. So when he's like tripping and he's like, no, we gotta clobber them, you know, the Russians are gonna get him, we gotta clobber them when we got the chance. Like there's that long shot of not just Buck but also the board that he's looking at, because like the entire humor of this crazy like war hungry like, you know, general, and then this entire like nuclear apocalypse, like, you know, coming to like end the world, like that in of itself combined creates that situational irony.
I mean,
Where, like,
I don't
this is a
laugh
fucking
because like
joke,
there's a
and that's
giant
why it's
board with a bunch
funny.
of
So
lines on
yeah,
it that have planes going to various parts of Russia. I laugh because like Turgidson says something funny, right? And in the way he gesticulates or delivers the line and performs it is like I feel like this is the performances
I don't know. I
or
think
like the
that's the wrong way
dialogue
to
that drive the
approach the
humor
film.
for me here, not the cinematic
For
elements, you
me,
know?
that's for me that's the wrong way to approach the film. Like to me what it seems like you're saying is that you're approaching this as if it's like an episode of The Office, where it's like the humor comes from like people saying funny things like every now and then. But like I'm not saying that's not a bad way to look at things. Like obviously humor should come
I
from
mean,
what
I
people are
get a
saying.
lot
Like
of the
I'm not
situational
denying
irony.
that, but
Like
what I'm
you can't
yeah,
fight in the war room, or like he's gonna see the big board. Like, I mean, I get that, right? And there are a lot of moments where like it's not just because like, oh, they say something funny, right? Like it's, oh, we're going through like the survival kit has a bunch of ridiculous fucking shit in it, or like going back to the example of
yeah.
like Ripper like clinging to Mandrake,
When they're
right?
opening the
Like,
top secret attacks,
yeah,
there's a literal
it's
porno
great.
mag
Like,
poster
or like
like
there's this
covering
it's
the
like
yeah.
3 a.m. and like the secretary who Ripper who Turgison's having an affair with is like answering the phone, acting like she's in in an office, or like I get that, right? Like
Blast
blast
off.
off, or say your prayers before you go to bed. I get that, but like I don't think like the cinematography like contributes to the situational irony. The cinematography just like doesn't move a lot. There aren't a lot of cuts, right? Like if anything, that like the scene that felt most like funny to me was when there were a lot of cuts to like different takes, like with Strangelove, when he was going through like his hand trying to like strangle him, like that kind of thing. Like that felt like there was more like the camera was saying, oh, here's a beat, and here's a beat, and here's something that's going to happen, and we're going to cut away. Like I just
Wait,
like
hold on. I'm confused. How does like the number of
because
cuts like affect how funny
it
a
was
scene is? Like that doesn't
indexed and it corresponded
what
to
does that have to
like
do with anything though?
it communicated to the audience like here's a moment of pause, we're going to stop, and so you can like relax, or like here we're going to put emphasis on this moment using like I'm not saying cuts. I wanted more cuts in this movie. It's like a lot more than that, but like that's just an example of how like the cinematography being more dynamic and being more movement oriented, right, like can enhance the comedy for me, right? Like I
Okay.
get a lot of like still shots and
Sorry,
long takes and a lot of random things included. I don't know, like it just yeah.
I don't necessarily understand like how that's a bad thing though. Like the long takes like added to like the scope and like the
Like
documentary feel
why
of
does
the,
that
of the
make it
movie. Like
funnier
I
though?
don't I
Like
I don't
why
really
in your mind does that make it funnier?
No, what that yeah, that to me that makes it funnier because like the film is so grounded in reality. It's like you can mirror a lot of what was going on during the Cold War to like to what's happening in this movie. Yeah, it's a bit on the extreme side, but it's not completely unrealistic. In fact, if anything, like something like this could potentially happen like in the real world. And like using sort of these like long takes, these like, you know, these long drawn out scenes, like using sort of like a 60s propaganda like documentary like esque look to the film. It's like it adds to that grounded realism, but the comedy doesn't come from like people saying things. It comes from like the irony that emits from the way the film is shot, from the way, you know, scenes are constructed and the way like comedy and jokes are built. Like that's what I'm talking about. And like I okay, so I think you need to help me understand here because I don't
So,
because
like,
I don't
you
think
need to
I
help me
fully
understand.
understand where you're coming from with
I,
this. Yeah.
so the fact that it's more realistic contributes to the humor, or like it feels more like the fact
Yeah.
that it comes from a single perspective. It could be like a person sitting in the room.
Its humor comes from its
So,
irony.
but
And the
why does the
irony
realism
is
contribute
like,
to the irony?
yeah.
Like I feel like the irony, you get more mileage out of like the caricaturized performances or like the dialogue that's extreme and over the top, right? Or like
The humor comes from how how this resonates with like current like warfare and
what does
global
that mean
politics
though?
today.
Like a lot of things resonate with warfare
What
and
I
global
find
politics. Like what
funny.
does that mean? Like
No, but like the film, like any other war film, I swear to God, like they do the whole like war is bad and all that stuff. Like
what's a
obviously,
Michael
yeah,
Bay
fucking
movie and
war is bad, but
glorify a
like
bunch of explosions? Yeah,
or,
yeah.
or it's like Pearl Harbor where like war is good for some reason. Like Doctor Strangelove goes like, and I think this is what great war films should do. Like a great war film shouldn't just say
Mm-hmm.
war is bad and that's about it. They should say why. They shouldn't. The question I think a good way to approach it is the questions that war films should ask is not why war is bad, it's how war is bad. How does the effects of war sort of like create this negative impact on humanity? And I think Dr. Strangelove not only answers that, but it answers
I
that
mean,
with a
but just like
fucking
how does
joke.
that tie to the
It's like the entire
cinematography? I mean,
Cold War
like
is a joke. And mutually assured destruction is a fucking joke. Like, you
I
know,
mean,
like
I get that. Like it's absurdist,
I
right?
mean,
It's a
okay, yeah,
satire, but
yeah.
like how does like the fact that it's shot in the way it's shot, right? Like how does it create that irony? How does it like indicate that war is bad in this particular way? I mean, for me, like I got that because of like the
Well, you've said it
performances
yourself
and the
too during
plot,
certain
right? Like I
scenes.
don't,
Like it Well, you've said it yourself. Like during certain scenes, it certainly adds to that. Like the scenes where like General Ripley's
yeah.
like has his arms around his like a mandrake, like creating
Mhm.
like sort of that uncomfortable
It's like oddly
like
sexual,
tension
and it's
between
like
the
this
two.
is
Or when like
1963.
Buck
Like what
like
the fuck?
falls,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
oddly sexual. Or like when Buck like falls down, he's like, yeah, they're gonna hit the big board and stuff like that. It's like
I mean,
those are examples. I'm giving
you're
you
pointing,
examples,
like
and
I've
you've
said, like
admitted to
you're
those
pointing to
examples. So yeah.
particular like examples where there's like a funny beat, right? But like
The
what I'm
entire
saying
like
is like
way the
the
plane sequences were
consistent
shot.
way that
Yeah.
kind of spans many scenes, like the style of the direction of the cinematography, right? Like in the way like the camera is used and in the way like the actors are instructed to like be one another, like
I mean, I
I
could give you more
what
examples
I'm
if
saying
that's what you
is
want. The
like
opening
I
scene is such a
understand like,
joke.
oh, comedy coming
Yeah.
from irony, it's just called satire, right? But like you're not telling me why. I mean, yeah, like but
Satire
you're not
itself is
telling me
comedy,
why
though.
like
Like,
the fact that
yeah.
it's shot like a documentary like contributes to that irony and therefore the film. Or like you're not telling me
Okay.
how the
Cle-
cinematics relate to the comedy
okay.
is what I'm saying.
I,
Yeah.
I feel like I am, but okay. Clearly, I can't convince you. Then, like, maybe you should convince me. Like, you have to convince me like why like the way these because I find them
So
funny.
okay,
So you have to
okay,
convince me why
so we're
that's
gonna get
not
high level,
funny,
right?
and
We're gonna get high
then you have
level.
to provide
We're
like
gonna get high
alternatives.
level.
Like yeah, like you have to provide alternatives as to what you think could be funnier than like the way it was shot because I think it's great. So like not only do you have to explain to me why it's not funny, but also like what the
Okay,
alternatives are should be. So yeah, go
so
ahead. Yeah.
like all right, so let's zero in on one scene, right?
Okay.
Like so I'll explain first like my first principles when it comes to comedy. Like we're getting abstract here. Like for me,
I
comedy
mean, it's
is
good we're having this conversation.
yeah. I
So
mean,
yeah.
like comedy is very rhythmic, right? Like it's very timely, right? Like it's when it's delivered, it's how it's delivered, right? Like in how it relates to other funny elements on the screen, right? Like, and so something like the cinematography then becomes really, really important, right? In terms of when there are edits, what is on the screen, what's in focus, what's not in focus, right? Like what things are emphasized, right? Like just it like the comedy for how it works, I think, in film is very related to cinematography, right? So I think the one scene that I think like demonstrates for me,
Yeah, I was gonna
like
say you still
why,
haven't explained to me
like
anything.
the one scene that kind of exemplifies this for me are like the exchange between Melvin Muffley,
How do you keep mispronouncing? It's Merkin Muffley. How
Merk
do you
and
keep
Muffley. I don't know.
mispronouncing this? Yeah.
Merk and Muffley, like the scene between Merk and Muffley and Turgison, where like the president is like, "What the fuck is going on?" Right, and Turgison's like, "I don't know, like I found
Oh,
this
you're
out from this
talking about
report."
the near
Right?
beginning where he's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
okay.
or the other war room scenes. Like the war room scenes are supposed to be like the most situationally funny, right? Like what I see in that scene, right, is like usually either like shot reverse shot or like a wide angle shot of like all of the extras and Turgidson and the president and maybe the board on the wall, right? And so when there's like a funny comment, right, you don't get a close up, right, and then a reaction, right? Like you're not moving, like you don't zero in on a couple extras who might be reacting what's going on. They're all just sitting there, or like it feels really still and really like static, right? And so well, there are funny moments, there are funny lines, right? Like when you have like Merk and Muffley, I think I got it on the
Yeah, you
phone
got
with the
it that
premiere,
time. Yeah.
right? Like there are funny moments, but like the rhythm's not there, like the beats aren't there, like there's it all just feels like, oh, it's just one, it's like I'm a person sitting in the room, right, looking at everybody, not focused on any one particular thing, like
I
there
don't know.
or even beyond like the cinematography, like I noticed this too in the war room scenes, like there's a lot of like audio like echo, like they're just I was listening to headphones on and like it felt
Yeah,
like
I thought that
recording
added
a
to the
podcast,
detail and
right?
realism
Like
of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I just it felt odd to me, you know, like why are these just like, this is supposed to be really funny, but why are these like cinematic decisions being made? So maybe if you want
Well,
to
the
use that
echo thing
scene
has
or a
nothing to
different
do with
scene, I don't know.
cinematography, but like,
Like
okay, I'm gonna get to that your point in a bit, but like, I liked those little details. Like, you can hear the echoes of like people
yeah, I
like
mean,
screaming,
I
like
thought
that
that
adds
was,
to the
it's
extra.
just like
That's
that was
extra
kind of one
detail
off
of the
though.
film.
It's just like that
That's just how
happened in
well
that one
detailed. But
scene, you
like,
know? Yeah, yeah.
okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, you can obviously correct me, but like, what it seems like you're asking though is like you're basically saying, oh, let's just film it like any other comedy. Then let's film it like a Judd Apatow movie where we have like close-ups of characters' faces
I
when
mean,
they
don't
talk, and then we
scarecrow
switch
me
to that.
now. Like don't
Well,
like
no, but I'm trying to understand what you're where you're coming from at this, because I still
like
can't I still
I
don't
would have,
understand what you're
loved a
coming from.
close
Yeah.
up of like Merk and Muffley, like besides some like extras, right, who are
Okay.
there, very much there for a
You've
reason,
established
like
that. Okay.
reacting to what's going on. I would have loved like more interesting angles, right? Like there are other shots in the movie where like the camera is below the characters, right? Like I would have
Okay.
loved like more visual emphasis on the board if that's supposed to contribute to the irony. It's just there in the background,
Okay.
right? Like I would have loved, like it didn't, I don't know, like
You've
this.
established that. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Whatever. Suppose you're right on that. Then how does that change the comedy of that particular scene? Like the exchange where it's like, Buck Turgidson, what's going on? Well, Mr. President, General Ripper is kind of gone batshit insane. It's like, suppose we did exactly what you did. How does that change the comedy? How does that enhance the comedy? Like, that's what I'm struggling to understand. Like, suppose we did every single thing that you suggested. How does that change the comedy? Like, how does that make get an even bigger laugh out of me than than the laugh I originally had out of it? Like, that's what I'm trying to understand. That it's like you're saying that like these things will like make the film funnier, but like I don't understand how. Like, you have to like help me understand on that. So
Like I don't know. So I don't know. Like I'll point to a Marvel movie. I don't know.
oh
I
god, of
think
course you are.
let's think about, like, I don't know. Like I don't think there are examples inside the movie, right? That'll exemplify this because it's all the same like dark
Well, I
horror
don't know.
style,
You
right?
said like
Like,
the film should have been shot differently, but I'm
yeah,
asking you like, how does that impact the comedy then? Like, suppose we did
like I've
everything
said,
you
it's about timing, right? It's about emphasis. It's about cueing the audience, like when you're supposed to laugh,
but the
right?
way
Like
that it's
it's about
shot as it
giving a
is already
break,
does
right?
all
And
that though. Like I'm so, but like I don't think that we should be giving them a break. There's a literal countdown of like the world about to end. Like the exhilaration, like the fear, the tension that the characters are feeling. That's the same tension
well,
that
I
we're
would have loved
feeling
to
as
have
well.
felt that,
So
but the camera is just in one spot. Right. And
okay,
then the
now
camera
we're
is
just
like
getting
maybe
into
there's
like
a shot and then it
subjective
comes back
things.
to
Like
that
I
spot. And
felt
then
that
shot
as
it comes
well.
back to that spot.
Yeah.
But like it doesn't contribute to pacing. It doesn't emphasize like any particular lines from Turgidson, right? It doesn't emphasize lines from Merkin Muffley. Right. Like I feel like I'm articulating like why I feel like it doesn't work with a comedy. Like it's about timing, it's about emphasis, right? It's about like making the tempo of the script match the tempo of the camera.
I don't know. I've
Right.
never
Like,
thought
I don't know.
I don't think the comedy comes from one particular character. Like again, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I feel like I have to because that's the only way I can keep like emphasizing why I think this is great. It's because like the comedy doesn't come from one particular individual. Like yes, like Buck Turgidson himself is funny. Yes, Dr. Strangelove himself is funny, but the humor doesn't come from one person individually. It's the entire context of the scene
Mm-hmm.
that makes the film funny. That's why you have those long shots. That's why you have like these pans where like there's very few takes of like these characters doing these crazy things within the context of, you know, a couple of extras looking at Buck or Dr. Strangelove, or within the context of like the big board in the background. It's like the comedy doesn't come from one particular individual. It comes from the combination of the character, the extras, the background, the sets, the tone. It's like it's a combination. It
And
combines all of that.
just for
So
me, like the
yeah.
camera doesn't emphasize any particular elements of it. It's just like we're
Yeah,
just
and
gonna
that
get a
was done
wide
on
shot of the whole
purpose. Like
thing.
that was on purpose.
Like, yeah, but like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I feel like so I don't know. Maybe this is so let's reflect for a minute. Like I think about maybe we've been trained, right, in modern comedy that like you as a viewer are supposed to laugh to like very specific discrete things, like individual things. It's a line, it's a performance, it's a cut, right? It's like a musical thing, it's a joke, right? Like I like something and then I laugh and then I stop laughing and then it keeps going and then something and then I laugh and then I stop laughing. Like I maybe the thing is just like the style of comedy, right? I get the irony that contributed some of the time to me, right? But like there weren't any moments where I felt like I was supposed to laugh, right? And the things when I did laugh, it was when there are very emphasize obvious things, like you've got the close up to Merkin Muffley making the "I'm sorry" or "I agree more," or the like General Ripper all over Mandrake looking like looking sad, like or Bat Guano guy is like Colonel saying like, "Are you gonna have to pay
The
you're gonna have to
Coca-Cola company.
Coca-Cola," right? Like all those are like very individual things, right? That I can that are emphasized to me, whether because of the line or because of the cinematography is like close up on both like Ripper and Mandrake. Like these are examples, or like you have a close up of the the pilot, like Slim Pickens, I think you call him, right? And he's
Well, Slim
going
Pickens is
through
his actor is the
he's
actor's
doing an
name. So
inventory
yeah.
of what's in the survival kit, right? And oh, that'd be funny in Las Vegas. Like those are the moments that were like I kind of laughed a lot because I thought they were really funny, and it felt like it was emphasized,
I
right?
don't
And it was
know. Like
discreet.
again,
So
correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't think comedy is atmospheric. I don't think it's atmospheric for me. You know, maybe you think comedy is atmospheric.
Yeah, well, no, again, because like again, now we're just getting into like this. Now we're getting into like he said, who said about like what comedy is defined as, like what exactly is comedy. I think like that's the biggest thing because like again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the moments that you laughed at the most were the ones that were the most conventionally defined as comedic moments.
I wouldn't say it's like it was
am I
conventionally
wrong
defined as
or
comedic. I would just say it was defined as comedic. You know,
okay, so
like
you're saying okay, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you're saying the moments you laughed at the most were the most obvious moments of comedy. Is
the
that
comedy
would that
felt like most of the time, like the comedy felt really mixed together with all the other elements of the film.
But again,
right?
I'm saying like that was done on purpose. Like
Yeah, and like
it's not like just a
I
normal
understand that.
screwball
I mean that,
comedy.
but I'm
It's
saying it just
like
doesn't work for me, you
it's a
know?
comedy intertwined with its like this bigger themes of like nuclear apocalypse, how sex and war are like intertangled with each other. Like the end of the film is literally just a fucking montage of like all the nuclear explosion tests that ever happened in the world, plus like we'll meet again, like the end song that happens. It's like it's the final culmination of everything that happens. Like the movie is called Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. That in of itself, the title itself is already funny to me. It's like, oh, it's like this goofy character, but also like, hey, the world's about to end, but haha, that's kind of funny. And like it's emblematic of that. Strange love. We have a strange love for war. There's this I mean, obviously this has nothing to do with anything, but like all I'm saying is that for me, the things that I found funny about the film weren't just like the funny things that handicapped German man said or crazy overweight white guy said. Like the things that I found funny, as you said, were atmospheric. Like the reason why I think this is an amazing comedy is because like it's funny not because of the jokes, but because what the main joke that the film stands. Like this entire movie is built on one joke, and that joke is nuclear holocaust and like Cold War paranoia. That's the main joke of the entire movie, and the events that happen in the film, the writing, the directing, the characters, like they're all in service of that one big joke. Like I hope that makes sense. I hope what I'm saying makes sense.
I mean, yeah,
So,
like
yeah.
so maybe it just gets down to like different preferences for comedy, right? I mean, I hate resting on the art is subjective, right? Because I don't think it's
It is
subjective.
subjective.
I think you can analyze it still. I think subjective is invoked as like we were too frustrated and we're not going to think about it critically. But I think the critical examination is like maybe I grew up with 21 years of Marvel movies where there are very discrete, like comedy is often used, as we were talking about last week, to like relieve tension, or there's a particular line or there's a particular look, right? Like,
I mean, I don't have anything against that. Just say something funny. That's just like half the time the Marvel characters don't say anything funny.
I mean,
like,
I don't know. I think it's funny.
It's like I hate it when it's like I'm Peter Parker. I'm Doctor Strange. Oh, we're using our superhero names. Oh, okay, I'm Spider-Man. It's like that isn't fucking funny. Like fuck off, it's like,
I think your impression's funny. I think that's laughable.
Again, that's why I do the intros. Yeah,
so, I don't know, like so for me, like just kind of putting a bow on that facet of the discussion, just the comedy, it felt blurred with like all these other elements, right? And the things that I found funny are, I think, are for the moments where like I was supposed to feel funny. I was supposed to feel funny, right?
We should probably talk about other aspects of this film, but like,
this is an interesting one.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is an interesting one. I don't mind
criticism of the
talking
film.
about this. I don't mind talking about this.
It's my biggest criticism of the film. Like it's the tone and the mood created by the cinematography feels like disjoint with the comedy, right?
I don't know.
Everything else is just kind of small and unrelated. That's my only fundamental thing.
Again,
right?
Forgive me for making assumptions, but it seems like your issue is that
Tim, you're not allowed to make assumptions about people.
Okay, yeah, all right. It seems like your issue is that the movie didn't make you laugh as much as you wanted it to. Like, am I wrong? Like,
I mean, like,
because that's just what it sounds like. It's like you wanted
to advertise. Because
again, I'll admit to you,
like,
I'll admit to you, like it's not like a explicit comedy. It's not like Anchorman or Talladega Nights or something like that, where it's like literally, like they're literally just like screaming or like saying explicit jokes and making fart noises and stuff like that. It doesn't have any of that. Like, and I just think that, I don't know, it's so unique compared to other kinds of comedies where like in most comedic films, I gotta stop referencing Judd Apatow produced films. Like
said, like I haven't seen Judd Apatow movies. Doesn't mean anything to me. So
yeah, it's just like okay. How about like in like most like say like Seth Rogen comedies, like the comedies in some of those films, not to say that they're bad. Like I respect those more than like anything Judd Apatow has made. But like I think the comedy, unlike those movies where like the comedy comes from what people say and like the funny gags and like the funny faces and body language they do, the jokes come from that. While in a movie like this, it's so unique because the jokes don't come from the characters. The characters service the main joke, the main situational irony of this satirical, crazy screwball comedy about nuclear holocaust. Like it's like most comedy films its humor comes from its characters, but it's the opposite with Doctor Strangelove. Its humor, its characters fuel the overall humor of the movie that it's trying to embody. So, that's I
It's
mean
like,
that's all I
when did
gotta
you
say.
laugh
Yeah.
because of that? Like, what moments?
I don't have to
Like what
laugh at like
scenes?
I agree with you. Like I'm not like gut busting laughing. It's like it's not like I'm not like watching Borat where it's like haha he said funny thing and like I'm laughing out loud. Like there's like what I find funny about the film is the irony. It's like this entire
It's
movie
more
is a
meta
big
level.
joke.
Like, when you think
Yeah,
about
it's
this
like
situation,
exactly. It's on a
I'll
meta
chuckle.
level. I can't help but laugh. I can't help but think like this is a big fucking joke. Like obviously I'm not like gut bustingly crying out laughing or anything like that, but like nonetheless, I think it's a cleverly written comedy where it's like the humor doesn't just come from what people are saying. It's like what they're saying like contributes to the overall tone of the film. Like it's a different kind of comedy, I will say. It's not like, again, it's not like Pineapple Express where it's like, oh, it's gut bustingly like funny like every 5 or 10 minutes. Like you chuckle and you laugh every now and then, but when you come to like when you think about what you
So
see, and
the
yeah,
comedy isn't supposed to be like in the moment. It's not supposed to be real time with the movie. It's like, I think about this scene that happened 2 minutes ago, right, and how it relates to this scene, and I'm like, oh, that's funny. He'll see they're worried about like classified information in the middle of a nuclear apocalypse, right?
yeah.
Or like, oh,
I mean,
we're
people still. I mean,
yeah.
there is still funny moments from time to time.
Oh
Like it's
yeah,
not
yeah, and
like
that's what I found funny.
completely
Yeah.
like empty or anything like that. But like again, like the biggest source of humor that I get from the film is like the overall package. Like I don't know, like maybe that's not the type of comedies you're into, and like that's completely understandable. Like again, comedy is subjective. What I find funny is different from what you find funny. And that's totally okay. I'm just like trying to like convince you as to why I find it so hilarious, why I like love the comedic
So
elements of
when
the
do you
film. So
laugh? Do you laugh during individual scenes that you watch, or do you laugh when you close your laptop or you're turn off your
I
TV
laugh
and
when
you're
I
like, oh,
think.
I remember that scene. This is
No,
so
I
funny.
think
Like,
about
yeah.
when I turn off the movie, and then when I think about what I just saw, and I just lie in my bed and I go, holy shit, that was a huge fucking joke. And it's even funnier because that's just happening in real life. Like countries like are
So it's
still run by
intellectually
like
funny.
incompetent. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, not to say that I'm like a snob or anything. Like I'm not like look, I laugh at the stupidest shit in the world. Like I think Borat is a fucking hilarious like comedic
I laugh
film.
at your
Like
intro, so saying.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
the shit I say is like second grade level humor. It's like, I just think that like it's yes, I don't like gut bustingly laugh
So
every like
I would
10
say like,
minutes.
so
Yeah,
I would
so
say like, I think the most interesting things for me about the film are, it's like one of those movies that like I watching it is one thing, and then talking about it is like really fucking fun, right? It's like Under the Skin, right? Like I had a similar experience where like I really love Under the Skin, but like rewatching it was kind of hard just because like it just
I was gonna say,
was,
do you mean
it
Under
felt
the Silver
atmospheric,
Lake
right? Like
or
Under the Skin was similarly atmospheric, right, in some ways, but it wasn't funny, right? Like I feel like Under the Skin is like what happens. Like I feel like you could imagine a similar situation where like you have an alien coming in doing this really fucking funny premise of like trying to go steal men for their meat, right? And then you have the same bleak kind of thing, but they're like, instead of Scarlett Johansson being like super inexpressive and flat, or not flat, like, but it's intentionally good, but like super inexpressive and flat, she's trying to go for witty commentary interactions with like the guy who's supposed to be the pimp, or like the really unattractive Scotsmen that are really into her. Like I can imagine like that going a comedic direction the same way that Doctor Strange does,
I don't know. I
right?
think
But I
like
don't think it would work as much as
for
it
me the
does,
best movies aren't just like the emotions I get from like in the present, like getting the emotions I have while watching the movie. Like a movie is even more powerful when like I constantly think about what I just saw, like weeks on end. Like after I saw the film, it's like, holy shit, I'm still thinking about this. I still can't help but think about how big of a fucking joke Doctor Strangelove was. It's like, I think it elevates that movie in a way where it's like, the humor doesn't end when the credits roll. The humor continues because like when you keep thinking about the movie and when you keep thinking about what you just saw, it's like, holy shit. It's like, obviously I'm not like crying out my tears laughing or anything, but it's like it's just ironic. It's like it's all just a joke. Like to quote the comedian from Watchmen, it's all just a joke.
It's
It's
all
such a
just a
fucking
joke.
joke. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so like, okay, I understand that. I mean, like I guess what I look for in comedies are different, right? Like
Yeah,
I
that's
don't.
completely understandable.
Yeah, like I just
So
I don't think of comedies like when I think of like the powerful movies, right? That say a lot and are really abstract and like make me meditate on them and teach me lessons. Like they're not usually comedies. I mean, I think of Soul. Soul is a comedy that really I think the humor serves its purpose
well, I
of
don't
like
really consider
like
Soul a comedy,
only
but
it's funny. I mean, like it's a comedic animated movie in the style of Pixar.
Well, I was
Like
gonna
there are
say then, how is
jokes.
that
Yeah.
any different from Doctor Strangelove then?
I
Like I'm
mean,
I'm a bit
like
confused.
I'm saying that that's the exception, right? Like I don't think of like I think of like Whiplash or I think of like what are
Wait, what
other
about Whiplash?
like
Like,
it just like it resonates with my personal experience and I think about like how Andrew Neiman is kind of broken down by this institution and made obsessive and I go to U Chicago and my first 2 years at U Chicago while I'm on a
well, I don't
gap
know
year
how
I
like
relate to that
resonance has
like
anything to do with
yeah.
how funny you find something. Like, like I have no like personal like connection with
I
Doctor
mean, but what you're
Strangelove.
saying
So
is
like,
like it resonates with you intellectually, and the intellectual resonance, like you think about it after the fact, is how it's funny, and you kind of chuckle and remember it for months. Or I mean, that's what you just told me is like the best comedy and like from this movie,
so I'm a
right?
bit confused
So
then. So
yeah,
like a comedy shouldn't make you think, like shouldn't make you think about life,
I'm
and
saying
I'm
that
so
comedies
confused. I'm a
usually
bit confused.
don't,
Yeah.
right? Like so for me, the ones that usually make
So
me think and
shouldn't we applaud comedies that do make us think that way? Like I feel like comedies that can do that like should deserve a bigger applause than dramas. Like dramas have it easy. They're supposed to make you feel like that. Comedies are supposed to
mm,
make you laugh. But the fact that this comedy not only made me laugh but also made me think at the same time, like we should be applauding those types of comedies. We should be seeing more comedies like Doctor Strangelove. We shouldn't accept the lowest common denominator of like Step Brothers and like Austin Powers's of like, oh, he farted and that's funny because haha. Like we should be applauding comedies that are not just funny but also make us think, because say holy shit, like our the global international political system is fucked. I think the best comedies do that.
yeah, and I understand that. I mean I think there's something to that. I guess for me, like when I think on it, right, like I think on the particular scenes that where the comedy is emphasized, right, like not the atmospheric stuff, right, and so I reflect, right, is it just how we grew up? I mean, is that just the
Yeah.
comedy of the 21st century and we're trained,
And
and
again, that's
yeah.
completely understandable. It's like you're you and you have your own personal tastes and interests, especially comes to comedy. Like I can't change anything about that. I
I mean,
guess
don't
like
conclude with that. Conclude with some reflection on like
no, no,
what
no.
does
What I'm
comedy
saying is
mean? Like,
I'm obviously
don't say it's subjective,
no,
Timmy. That do
but
not say
comedy
it's
is
subjective. I will
subjective. But
reach through
comedy
my
is
screen
subjective.
and pull
But
out
what else do you
your
want me to
throat.
say?
Come on.
Comedy is subjective. I found it funny. You didn't. Like that's just what it is. Like we have different tastes. We
I
have
don't
different
want that
like
to be the takeaway. The takeaway should be something cool
obviously
about
not. Like we
comedy and what it
talked for like
means.
a
Like,
fucking hour of like what exactly defines comedy in like in
yeah.
a subversive intellectual movie. Like obviously that's not like the summation of what we just talked about, but that's nonetheless true. Like comedy is subjective. What I
Mm-hmm.
find funny, you might like not find funny in the slightest. And that's okay because we all have different tastes. If you find, I don't know, Jack and Jill, like the funniest movie of all time, good for you. It's just not what I find funny. If you
I don't know if
find
I'm an
Pixels
Adam Sandler
I was
fan.
gonna say if you find
So
Pixels or Grown
no.
Ups funny, then like good for you. So
I just remember the dog from Pixels, like with the
I don't
cut
remember
vocal
anything about
cords,
the movie. You'll
and
have
it's
to
like it sounds
remind
like a
me.
rah, rah. I just remember
Oh yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah, I just
remember.
remember
Yeah.
that. That's the only thing I remember
Mm.
from that movie.
Yeah,
But
directed by Chris Columbus of Harry Potter
really,
1 and 2 fame.
that's really funny. Like I don't know, like I think that's a good segue there. Do we just want to do a couple other smaller things? Like we haven't talked about
Uh
Strangelove yet and Peter Sellers.
yeah, I before
Yeah,
we started this, you had some like issues with Peter Sellers characters played, which is
yeah.
weird because
I
like he plays each three characters like
Mhm.
excellently, and like none of the three characters are alike. Like you have this one of them is like a fucking scrawny like anxious like British officer. The other one's like this meek, like sort of, but Dimitri, like president and Merkin Muffley, and then you have this fucking psychotic, like weird ass, like German Nazi scientist. It's like he plays each three very convincingly. It's like you could have told me each character was played by a different actor, would have believed you, because like they each were played so convincingly and so well. It's like I honestly had a hard time believing, like, holy shit, like Peter Sellers played all three of these characters. Like,
I mean, it's great performances. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know,
so.
like I guess for me, so I'll just run through them. Mandrake felt a little too over the top for me, right? He sounded
No,
like
not at
felt
all.
like
I thought he was
just felt like a British
under the
stereotype.
top.
It's like, oh, I'm gonna talk about the Queen, and I'm gonna be like
Is under the
like
top
I'm gonna
the
fret
word?
about everything, and like I don't know, like I'm an officer of the Royal Air Force, and he just was very situationally like ignorant.
If under the
I don't know.
top is a word, I think that's how I would describe Mandrake. He's under
Really?
the top. Because
Really,
like, yeah,
I
because
mean,
like
maybe compared
everyone,
to Dr.
because
Strangelove,
like
yeah.
some characters are just so fucking crazy. It's like Mandrake is like fucking, he is fucking sane compared to everyone else. Like in the base where like Ripper is like, oh, you know, we gotta dilute the fucking water so that, you know, my penis can get hard or whatever. It's like he's the only sane one in this base. He's like, he was like, do you not fucking realize that you started the nuclear holocaust because you didn't get hard that one time? Like, do you know how fucking
I didn't interpret it
is?
that way, but
I mean, that's more or less what they said. Like, obviously they can't say stuff like that because it's the 60s and like censorship laws and stuff like that, but that's more or less what he said. Like, why else do you think he's compensating his, I'm assuming, a small flaccid penis?
I mean, he
with,
used
like
to
a
be
big
crazy.
cigar
I mean, he's
and,
like, I haven't given a woman my essence and they want it. I mean, I would assume that.
and I
he
thought that
still
was the
has
biggest
sex.
indicator of
Yeah.
that. Like,
Yeah.
he can't, like, I don't know, he can't, like, you know, he can't come or something like that. He can't get,
Oh,
I don't know,
God.
like,
Okay, that's where this.
I mean, I don't want to get into that.
Like, okay,
but,
so
like,
let's
like,
talk
that's
about
what's
Peter Sellers.
implying, yeah.
Like I don't know, like so. See, I guess Mandrake just felt like a little one note for me.
Yeah, I think I will say out of the three characters he plays, he's my least favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
So,
And then Dr. Strangelove felt a little. I mean, so this again ties back to the humor. Like, I didn't think the scenes where he was there driving it, like his right hand is and he's gonna choke himself. Like, I thought that was, I don't know, it felt kind of.
I also thought that was a sexual innuendo.
Maybe
he's using his right hand. He gets excited by
the
the
jerk off
idea
with your right hand. Was that what you're saying?
I mean, isn't that like a comment that his right hand gets excited? It gets excited by the idea of like 10 waifus for like one man or whatever in this underground bunker, and his like arm is going all crazy and stuff like that. Like, come on, man. It's like, did you not pick up on that? I thought that was obvious. It's
I don't know. I mean,
he's clearly wanting to jerk
I
off.
thought
Yeah.
I didn't think sex was like. I mean, I thought it was more of a motif than it was like a fundamental thing of.
Well,
of
I'm not saying it's like a main part of his character, but it's like,
it's like every time we talk about like what
yeah.
is this supposed to mean? It's like, oh, it's about it's really jerking off joke, or he can't get
again,
he
like,
can't get
that's
a
the
dick up, or
great
the nuclear bomb is like it from Slim Pickens is like actually supposed to be his dick. Like, I don't know, like I don't know.
That was funny. Like, the
I mean,
whole, like,
that was
he's
funny.
riding the fucking nuclear bomb like a fucking cowboy.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
like that
I
was
thought
so
that was
funny.
Like,
yeah,
it's just, but again, like it just Dr. Strangelove like felt even more over the top, right? And it just felt like a German dude in a wheelchair who was pretending to be a Nazi. And then doing
he was a
weird
Nazi
shit.
though.
So I mean, like, but
he literally screams, "Mein Führer, I can walk."
Yeah, I mean, it felt like an Elvis impersonator, but actually a Nazi and in a wheelchair, right? Like, I don't know, but I would say, like, I the fact that these very different characters were.
So you're saying Merkin Muffley was your favorite of the three Peter Sellers?
Yeah. I mean, I was building to that,
and like, that's not wrong. That's not wrong. Like, I also agree with that. So
it's only wrong if it's only right if you agree. I see.
Yeah,
I see. But like, yeah, and then I thought Merkin Muffley, because it was consistently the most funny. I love the fact that the president is like a bald dude with glasses, so it could be a computer scientist from the 80s. I don't know, like he's scrawny.
That also added to it added to like the meekness of President Muffley. He's
it was like,
and him and Buck Turgidson were good comparison pieces, where it's like Buck is like this, he's like this buff, like macho man, you know, he's got a side lady on the side and stuff like that, and you have fucking like bald, you know, man named after you know, cubic wigs for prostitutes and stuff like that. It's like,
I don't even know
come
what
on,
the fuck
man.
that is. Like, what? But
I barely know what that is. I looked
we don't
up
need
on
to explain.
Wikipedia.
Okay.
Yeah. So
this is
I'll leave it to your
PG-13.
interpretation.
We curse. So we talk about how Timmy jerks off, but like we don't go any further.
I'm not the,
like,
I'm the normal one here. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I just like, I don't know. So but no, yeah, I thought Merkema, like I was impressed, right? Like I didn't think like it was because of the performances, right? It was more so like just the writing and what was supposed to be happening in the film that I had issues with. But
Yeah, Kubrick can write a good movie. Who knew? So
yeah. So and Peter Sellers, man. So I thought he had a fourth role.
he was supposed to play the role that Slim Pickens eventually plays. Like he was supposed to play the
Okay.
pilot, but like not like, I think he like sprained his ankle or something like that, and like he couldn't nail the Texan accent down.
Damn, he needed
So
Harrison Ford, you know. I
well,
keep
they
calling him
originally
Harry.
wanted John Wayne for the role
Oh,
of Major Kong, but I think like he said no because he's a fucking loser and he's John Wayne. So they got Slim Pickens, and he said a lot about. He said a lot of great things about the film. Like he said, like, yeah, like, yeehaw, the checks got bigger and like I got bigger roles and stuff like that. So
will have more holes than the donkey at the fair or whatever. I just there were I thought that was
and
the
his
most
character's name is like
Yeah.
as like the least subtle thing in the world. Like Major King Kong. Like, come on, man. Like that like nothing about this movie is subtle, but I think like that's what's great about the movie. It's like the fact that it's just
absurd. Yeah,
it's so absurd. Right? It's so self-aware.
It's like simultaneously
like,
self-aware, but all the characters are ignorant of self-awareness, right? Like, like I think it's good, right?
And everyone's memorable. Like even James Earl Jones, who like has like what
I wouldn't if I hadn't seen
like
when I was breaking the Wikipedia,
so
this guy I would not have.
You didn't know that was James Earl Jones? Like,
I mean, I did after watching the movie, but like I wouldn't have remembered.
But you didn't know that was James Earl Jones in the movie? Like, come on, that sounded like Darth Vader.
Really? He had like 6 lines. I wasn't paying attention to
0,
him. I was paying
1.
attention to the southerner who is having all these things. Or like,
you're talking about Slim Pickens?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know. I just yeah, the characters were memorable. I loved the ambassador. So the ambassador was funny. Yeah, he was pretty damn good consistently.
Hey, why don't you try these Jamaican cigars? No, thank you.
I do not support imperialists.
I do support the imperial stooges. Just commie stooges, right? Yeah, that was funny.
I mean, like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, those are the situational like things, right? Like that I like. So, but no, I thought the performances were solid. I liked the writing. Everything that was said was good. I think my favorite performances are probably the Scott Wright, is Turgidson, and then
You mean George
Hayden.
C. Scott?
Sorry,
George C. Scott.
George
I was
C.
gonna
Scott.
say, who the hell's Scott Wright?
I don't know.
George C. Scott. Yeah.
Yeah, George C. Scott. Yeah, I like.
He's a pretty big old Hollywood actor. He played Patton in Patton. So
I didn't know that. So, but no, I liked him as Turgidson, and I liked Sterling.
Oh, here's another trivia fact. Apparently, George C. Scott and Kubrick played a lot of chess because George C. Scott actually butted heads with Kubrick a lot on like a lot of the scenes where he's like, I don't think this should do this, or I think this should be this. So like basically Kubrick made a wager with him where it's like every time they like butted heads on a situation, they would play chess, and whoever won the argument, and they had to move on. And like Kubrick was like won basically like most, if not all, the chess games. Like,
and that's what you do when you're good at chess. You're like, oh, we'll do this out through chess, and people think like, chess is cool.
Yeah, who knew Kubrick was just a fucking like.
I was a competitive chess player in high school. If that says anything about me, and I do that.
And apparently that was the only thing he like respected about Kubrick. He was like, man, he's such a fucking asshole when it comes to doing like 100, 200 takes. But man, can that guy play chess? I'm like, God damn it, this guy.
You do love this movie. You know all the trivia. I don't know. So I think I'll give my final rating.
Here's one more thing I wanted to bring up. Like my final piece of trivia. So the ending of the film actually originally wasn't the ending. So the original like ending of the film was supposed to end in a pie fight. So basically like after Slim Pickens like blows up like Russia or whatever, like Alexei, the ambassador, basically was supposed to like throw a pie at George C. Scott, but it misses and hits Merkin Muffley. So like Buck Turgidson was like, my fellow Americans, our president has just been horrendously assassinated by a Russian commie. Let's get him. And they like engage in a
very
pie,
solid whatsoever.
And they engage in a pie fight. You should look this up yourself because I think there's like footage of it, but I was wondering
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, like apparently there was footage of it. They ultimately scrapped the idea because like I guess Kubrick just thought it didn't
I
fit the
mean,
film. But like
on its
I was
face, it
wondering like
sounds
what are your
like
I was
pretty
gonna say what are
stupid.
your thoughts about like I mean the movie's already
I
stupid.
mean,
Like this wouldn't be
I
the
thought
most
I
absurd
thought the
thing in the
ending
world.
montage was
So
fine. I
I
got what
loved
it's
it.
going for. I wasn't like, okay, well, we're gonna play some optimistic music to a bunch of like nuclear bombs going off. Like, I thought that was good. I did enjoy it, but it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't spectacular. Like, it wasn't like the last 20 minutes of Whiplash, you know, like it. I didn't think that. I don't remember it for the ending. I mean, maybe I'm thinking of like the 1964
was gonna say really the
campaign
ending is
ad
kind of
against what's his face, against Barry Goldwater, right?
um
That I would remember, but and
wait
as a
1964.
reference.
You mean JFK? Wait, no, he's dead.
I mean
LBJ.
60. No, this is 64. Yeah, this is 64.
Oh, LBJ. Because like
Yeah,
JFK's
LBJ
dead at this
versus Barry
point. Yeah.
Goldwater. The whole thing was Barry Goldwater was like, I would not be opposed to like using nukes against Russians, right? And then
Nope.
like
Now he's out.
LBJ ran this ad like that was like, oh, there's, I think it was like a little girl, right? And then like having like just being a little girl, and then just randomly, oh, nuclear bomb,
It's
right?
always a little girl.
Yeah, and so go vote for Lyndon B. Johnson because Barry Johnson's a fucking crazy hat. Like, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's kind of what I would. Yeah.
Poor Barry Goldwater. He's just no matter how many times he runs for president, he's just never gonna get it. He was like the Bernie Sanders of the 50s and 60s if Bernie
Yeah.
Sanders was more of an asshole. So
Yeah, I make
yeah.
that comparison, but they both have glasses, so I
Mhm.
remember that.
Him and
So
Adlai Stevenson, they were just never gonna be president no matter how many times they ran. So
I mean, I'm an Illinois man. I gotta stand my Adlai Stevensons of the world.
I think George
So
Wallace like ran like what like 60 fucking times. I don't mean to talk about politics or whatever. I just thought it was an
I don't know.
interesting.
I don't. We're talking. We got this conversation's going places. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think I'm gonna give my final rating.
Sure.
So for me, I I feel like I know what this is going for, right? And I have very similar feelings, probably to 2001. We'll probably talk about that on a separate episode in the future.
Mhm. Gonna
But
recommend it, man.
I think the biggest issue I have is I just don't like Kubrick as an auteur. I think we're planning on talking about this. I think for the sake of time,
We could talk about this some other time.
yeah,
So.
yeah. So, but I think that just I understand what the movie is going for. I think it works. The art and the intentionality is there. But
Well,
it
I
just
want to
doesn't
ask,
resonate
like,
with me.
what
Yeah.
is that? What do you? I mean, we'll obviously talk about this later, but I guess I'm just, again, I guess I've just been confused for most of what you said, but like, I don't really know what you mean by when you say Kubrick's not an auteur. Like, can you
No, I
clarify
said
what that
he's an
means?
auteur.
Oh,
Yeah.
he is an auteur. Okay, I was
Yeah.
sorry.
As
Yeah.
okay, so I'll just start over. Yeah. So I think for me, my biggest thing with this movie is I understand what it's going for: the intentionality, the art, the atmosphere, cinematography, everything, right? Like the humor, performances, like it's all there, right? But it doesn't just gel for me, right? Like it feels like things kind of butt heads, and it feels a little flat and awkward sometimes. Like the style of Kubrick is very exacting and very particular, but it just doesn't land with me. And maybe that's reasons of how I've grown up with what I look for in comedy and that kind of thing. And maybe that's the biggest the difference. It just movie doesn't resonate with me. I think it's good. I will probably revisit it again in the future. So I think I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Hmm. That's the great. Those are always my favorite moments where I can always convince you to raise your score up just a little bit. So, um, yeah. I mean, what is there to say? I feel like I've said everything I wanted to say. Like I said, Kubrick's my favorite director of all time. You know, I mean, sure, it might not work for you, but like to me, this is how comedies should function. You know,
Mhm.
it's like the humor doesn't just come from the things that people are saying. It adds to the overall humor that the film is trying to ride on, and I think it rides it very well. Haha, get it? Ride. And I did not do that on purpose. And yeah, and I think even in taking away like the comedy, it's just everything about this film is just so incredibly well made. It's excellently directed, fantastic writing as usual. The performances are all top notch. It's such a slick looking movie. It's like even if the comedy doesn't resonate with you, it's like this is such like a pretty looking movie to look at. I mean, obviously it's not like 2001 or anything, but it's still like a great looking movie. So and like I said, it's my third favorite Kubrick film, and as always with most of his movies, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
Cool. So Timmy, do you want to do Q&A?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
So what do we got for tonight?
I've got the questions this week. So first one to you.
Again, before we start, as I mentioned previous episode, if there are any questions you'd like for us to answer in the next episode, just comment below and just type away your question, and whichever questions we find, we'll answer them in the next episode. Or if you'd like to contact us through our socials, either through the main Sarcasmaholic Cinema Instagram page or through our individual Instagram accounts or Facebook or Twitter or whatever your choice for socials.
Really do a good job with social media.
Just send us DMs and ask us, hey, can you answer this question?
Guys, the recurring joke,
for
Timmy
next
needs
week?
friends.
Yeah.
Message Timmy.
He's
lonely in DC with his Defense Department
internship. We're open to all questions. So if there is a question you'd like for us to answer, but you don't want it to be public on the YouTube comments, then just DM us the questions. We're happy to take them. Please. We're so tired of coming up with our own questions. It's fucking crazy. Anyway, that's it. The socials will be located in the doobly-doo. So yeah, that's it. So anyway, question time.
Sarcasmaholic specific name for the doobly-doo.
I'm sure.
Is it the bar bottom? I don't know. Bottom of the barrel. Maybe the bottom of the barrel.
I don't know. The Vlog Brothers call it the doobly-doo, and that's what I've been calling it since then. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's wonderful. I mean, I watch Vlog Brothers too, like I did everyone on this planet. But yeah, I don't know. We'll work on that. We'll work on that one. Mm-hmm. So Timmy, first question to you: what are some movies that are coming out later this year that you're looking forward to?
Oh man, where do I start? Do you want to start with like films I'm actually excited for, or do you want
films you're actually excited for? You know my stance on So Bad It's Good movies. I'm okay. Not.
Well, I
saw The Room last week.
Boss Baby, back in business, baby. Boss Baby 2.
Boss Baby 2. Alec Baldwin. Oh yeah.
Boss Baby 1 was obviously a masterpiece of cinema. What else? Jungle Cruise, starring Dwayne the Pebble Johnson and Emily Blunt, and Jungle Cruise, because obviously that movie's going to be exciting. I'm kidding. I'm going to get into actual things I'm excited for. I think the first thing that like comes to my mind is, I mean, I'm a huge Edgar Wright fan, so obviously like his new horror film, Last Night in Soho. I saw the trailer. It looks fucking awesome. Gonna be the first in line to see it.
I'm really looking forward to Addams Family. That's the horror I need.
Yes, Addams Family 2, greatest horror movie of all time.
Yep.
Yeah, like I will suck Edgar Wright's dick. Like, just if it
with your right hand.
Yes, if doing that will make him make more movies, then that's fine. I just need more Cornetto trilogy stuff in my life. On top of that, I'm super interested in checking out the new Wes Anderson film, The French Dispatch. I'm not like a massive Wes Anderson fan or anything. Like I don't live and breathe like the same air he does or whatever. But for the most part, like all of his movies. Like there's not really a single movie that I like actively dislike, and I'm always interested in a new movie he produces. So yeah, and it looks awesome. And I can't wait to check it out. And I guess like one more thing I guess I'm pretty excited for is Dune. I've never read the books, and I guess Zander, if you want to emphasize that a little bit, like sure, but like
just a little.
I'm just primarily interested in the director, Denis Villeneuve. I think he's a fantastic director. I don't think he's ever made a bad film. I've liked pretty much everything he's made, from like Prisoners to Sicario to Blade Runner 2049 to Inson Days and all that stuff. It's like the man can do no wrong. So, and if he wants to make a Lord of the Rings movie set in a desert planet, then fuck it, give him money. I want to see it, So, Zander, what about you? Because like other than that, I'm just gonna name like meme movies.
I mean, I was gonna say Last Night in Soho. I was gonna say Dune. I'm a little salty because I think you stole my picks.
Yeah.
So of the movies that are coming out later this year, I'll get the superhero movies out of the way. I think I'm bigger on the genre than you are. I'm really looking forward to the Suicide Squad. I'm a big James Gunn fan. Loved what he did. I think you love what he did with Guardians of the
Yeah,
Galaxy
I think that's
movies.
the only reason I'm kind of interested
I
in the movie
can't
because
wait
James
to see
Gunn.
John
Yeah.
Cena play an imperialistic Captain America. Captain America is probably actually imperialistic, but like turn that up to 11 as a
That's
character named
Cap.
Peacemaker, and I can't
Mhm.
fucking wait. And just you're gonna be see so many big time actors just fucking die in the first 5 minutes. Like I think it's gonna be wonderful. The other one,
Here's
is
a trivia piece, by the way. The
okay.
the character that John Cena plays, Peacemaker, was actually what inspired the character of the comedian in Watchmen.
Oh yeah. I think Alan Moore wanted to use Peacemaker, and then
Yeah,
like they
he
were like,
wanted to
no.
use like a bunch of Charlton Comics characters. So
Yeah, I like the
yeah,
comedian though. I think the
honestly,
comedian
I
worked
was
out.
like kind of
So
hoping that like when I saw Peacemaker, I was like, oh shit, are we gonna see like the rest of the quote unquote Watchmen? Blue Beetle and like the Question and like Captain Atom. Nope, just fucking Peacemaker and a bunch of villains I've never heard of. Anyway,
yep.
keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
I'm excited for the Suicide Squad. The other one is Eternals. It's directed
mm,
by Chloe Zhao. It's got a lot of big name actors. Kit Harington, I think Selma Hayek's in there. The
other Game of
trailer,
Thrones guy.
yeah. Oh yeah. They have the two Starks. They're actually in a love triangle, which I think will be hilarious. So
Kumail
yeah,
Nanjiani is in the movie
yeah,
too, I
Camille
think. Yeah.
Nanjiani. It looks really good. The trailer looks really interesting. I love Chloe Zhao's cinematography. I'd love to see what she can do with something that's a little more
She
upbeat
said in an
and
interview, and I've
pace.
said this before, but
Yeah.
she said like the movie will be like heavily inspired by manga. Like honestly, if we can get like a weeb anime Marvel
Dude, it's
movie,
got
like
Kit Harrington. It's
automatically
not
the
going to be a
best
weeb
Marvel movie
Marvel
of all
movie.
time.
Kit Harrington's like the whitest, sexy actor
I
ever.
mean, in a
You
way,
know?
Game of Thrones is kind of weeby. Like,
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's just called fandom, right? All fandom is weeby
okay,
because
sure.
weebdom is just fandom.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anything else?
But I think like the serious one that I'm actually intrigued by is a movie called The
Venom
Green
2.
Knight. No, no.
Venom Let There Be Carnage.
So it's called The Green Knight. I saw the trailer. Essentially, it's based on an Arthurian legend.
Mhm.
It's a guy comes like and you have like a green. He's a Green Knight, right? And he goes on a journey through like archaic Britain. That's written and directed by David Lowery. It's an A24 film. I really like A24. The trailer was intriguing, and I'm looking forward to that one. So I also
Mhm. I was
Clifford
gonna
the
say,
Big
have you
Red
seen?
Dog.
Yes,
Clifford the Big Red Dog is happening. It's
that's gonna
fucking
be the
happening.
that's gonna be the
I'm a
next
white dude,
best
so I'm gonna
picture.
get like flushed in red. I'm gonna be a big red Xander because it's so funny.
I was gonna say that's gonna be the next best picture winner right there.
Oh
So
yeah. Clifford the Big Red Dog. I think that's just I want to see that. That's gotta be
I was
so
gonna say, have you
yeah.
seen any of David Lowery's previous films?
I know. I think I've seen a couple. They're not coming to
He
mind.
made a
Like
ghost story. Like that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
okay. I've seen
I
some good
think
things
he
from that.
made that
Yeah.
Robert Redford film, The Old Man and the Gun. I think.
Okay.
I
I
believe
haven't seen
so.
what else he's done. I
I
thought the
think the
trailer
most
was intriguing.
mainstreamy
Yeah.
thing he made was that like Pete's Dragon remake, a movie I already fucking forgot until I just came up with it.
That's funny. So yeah, no, I haven't
Um,
seen much from David Lowery then, but
yeah.
I thought the trailer was intriguing and the synopsis looks cool as well. So and then I read a little blurb about what's going on with the filming and it looks neat. So
Yeah, just
yeah,
another thing I wanted to add. I want to mention the
let
Beatles
there be
Get Back.
garbage.
Well, obviously that too, but like, so Peter Jackson's working on a new documentary called The Beatles Get Back, and it's in the same lane. So in 2018, 2017, I can't remember. Like Peter Jackson made a World War One documentary where he basically like turned like old World War One footage into like he colorized them and like provided sound for them and stuff like that. And he's doing kind of like a similar thing with this Beatles documentary, but like apparently he has like just so much footage, like it's going to be turned into like a mini series or something like that. I mean, it's not a movie, but just wanted to point out and say I'm also looking forward to that. Not just
Cool.
because it's Peter
Yeah,
Jackson,
Timmy likes
because like
things if they look like documentaries.
I mean,
Is it going
not
to be
necessarily.
like intellectually funny? You think atmospherically
Sure.
satirical about the Beatles?
I don't know. I kind of
So
want to say Halloween Kills as well, but like I didn't really love like the first Halloween remake slash reboot slash sequel that came out in 2018. Did you see the And actually, you haven't seen
I
any of
haven't seen the
Halloween
trailer.
films.
You said the trailer looks good, but I
It
don't want to
looked
see like
good.
the tenth fucking like slasher film in a
Well, again,
franchise.
like these
no
trailers
thanks.
are so fucking manipulative. It's like the trailer for the first like Halloween reboot slash sequel, whatever. Like that looked good, but like I didn't think that movie was like amazing or anything. But like I don't know, it's I love the first Halloween film. I like John Carpenter in general, and if they can channel a lot of what Carpenter did in the first movie, then I'll be happy.
Yeah,
So
sounds good. So
I
Timmy,
got a bunch of meme movies, by the way.
I
If
mean,
that's
yeah,
okay.
like actually, hold on. So
Space Jam, A New Legacy.
fuck. Okay, so I'm gonna ask and answer my second question. What movies am I not looking forward to this year? I'll go through them. Space Jam, A New Legacy,
Ah, boo. You're gonna go see that movie. I know you're gonna go see
Hotel
it.
Transylvania, Transformania,
Mm,
The Matrix 4,
yeah.
Ghostbusters Afterlives.
They're making another one?
They're making another Ghostbusters movie.
Jesus
Sing
Christ.
2,
Why? Oh, fuck off.
Downton Abbey 2,
Huh?
The Kingsman.
Yeah.
Like I just like what Top Gun, like Maverick. I was just like, why are there so many fucking sequels? Like for fuck's sake, Timmy. Like I'm looking at all of these like oh, there's articles. Like what are the important films coming out? And like studios are like, we need money, so we're gonna fucking like make sequels. I'm like, can we stop? Please.
I've always been so confused by like the specific movies that do get sequels. Like I'm so confused why Sony has tried to make like 3 fucking Ghostbusters movies. Like I mean I really like the first Ghostbusters film. It's definitely a funny film, but it's like I didn't think it was like a humongous like financial success. So like I don't know why like Sony's trying to like spam a bunch of like Ghostbusters sequels. Like and the same goes for stuff like Top Gun. Like I don't give a shit about Top Gun. Like it was I think I saw it when I was like 14. It was like fine, but it's like why does this warrant a sequel? It's like it wasn't like the biggest thing in the world. It's like I don't know. God, business people confuse me. I
Timmy,
wish they.
What movies are you not looking forward to?
Well, I will say this: I'm calling out your bullshit that like Space Jam 2 like is a like fuck off. You're gonna go see the movie. You're going to go see the movie.
Like literally, Lola Rabbit on the trailer like does a fucking slam dunk, right? And she winks at the camera.
Yeah, she doesn't have big titties like in the original Space Jam.
I don't know. Doesn't have Kim Grant. Right, it's got like fucking Don Cheadle is like kidnaps the
bad guy for some reason.
It's just like
and they've got
what is this? It's not just Looney Tunes. It's like
no,
all
it's
the other
Ready Player One now. It's gonna be Space Jam, Ready Player One edition. You know, like you got the Flintstones. You know, you got Yogi Bear. You got the Iron Giant. You got King Kong. Fucking Clockwork Orange is there too. All right, fuck it, let's throw that in there.
Steven Spielberg. Spielberg. I've tripped over so many names today. And just make Ready Player 2, you know?
I mean, this basically is Ready Player 2. Like, if you told me that this was a sequel to Ready Player 1, I would totally have believed you.
Yeah.
But you're going to go see it. I know you are. I'm going to go see it just like for ironic
Have you
sakes.
seen the original Space Jam? I think you told me you hadn't.
I haven't, but I've seen clips of it. So, like, I kind of have a general understanding of like what I'm going into.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the original Space Jam is like that quintessential like.
I've seen
movie. I don't even know if it's good, but I just remember.
I've seen the shitty sort of sequel / continuation called Looney Tunes Back in Action. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that one. It's basically like Space Jam, but like Brendan Fraser is there instead of Michael Jordan. Brendan Fraser and like Donald Duck and like Bugs Bunny team. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, he doesn't seem like
I don't sound like I just yawned and I muted myself.
Okay.
So it's like 11:20 here, and Timmy's like past midnight. He's got a 7 a.m. defense department.
I gotta but it's fine. You know, I like doing this. A couple more. The new M. Night Shyamalan movie, Old.
Ding dong.
That's gonna be.
What's the premise?
I saw people get old. Oh, they go to a beach and get old. That's
cool.
I'm not kidding. That's literally the premise of the movie.
Okay.
And all I want is a happening / After Earth level comedy. If I can get that, great, fantastic. I'll love it to death. I hope it is. Like, and like, there's nothing to indicate that it won't be, because like Split was such a fucking fluke, and you know, like he hasn't literally made anything like that good. Like Glass was a fucking snooze to get through.
Glass is fine.
The Visit was such a
I
fucking
had problems
cringe
with like
fest.
Split because it was just fucking problematic, but like I enjoyed it. I thought James McAvoy's performances were very diverse and
Yeah,
very
and I say
distinct.
that as
Yeah.
someone who's never seen Unbreakable. I saw Split having no knowledge about Unbreakable. I thought it was a pretty good movie. So and
I
Glass
mean,
was
like
just such a
Split
fucking
was I think separate from Unbreakable and just it
well, no,
worked out
like
that it could have been in the same universe. Yeah.
well, I apparently M. Night Shyamalan has said that like he tried to include James McAvoy's character in the original Unbreakable, but like apparently it just didn't make sense. So he cut the movie into like quote unquote two parts where
I mean, yeah, like Split was an
yeah,
old script, right? Split was a
that's why
script
it
that he
was a
wrote in the
success
90s. Yeah.
because it was back in the day when M.
You
Night
could make
Shyamalan could
good
still write a
movies.
fucking movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Um,
I don't know. Like I'm intrigued by Old. I will probably see it at some point. So it sounds like
Venom, gotta go get him.
let there be
Venom.
garbage.
Yeah. I think that's all the meme movies for me. I mean, Clifford, I guess,
What are
but
the
like,
movies
I don't know.
you're not looking forward to though? Like for real. Yeah.
Uh,
So we got
looking
good
at this
movies on the
now.
radar. Is that what
Well,
you're saying?
Sing 2 can go fuck off.
Yeah.
Illumination can go die in a fucking hole. I hate that. I hate everything that they stand
Isn't it
for.
owned by Universal now?
Yeah.
Like all the other
So
independent film studios.
basically, yeah. So that's fucked. I don't understand why we already have a prequel to Kingsman. Like there's only been like two. There's only been one sequel, right? Like why is there now suddenly a prequel? But
Because
there's also going
apparently
to be
the
a third
sequel is
film.
supposed to be really bad, and they don't want to make another one because they
I
can't
was gonna say,
recover.
but
Yeah.
that still made money though, right? Like,
I guess. I mean, I kind of want to see it because I like Pedro Pascal a lot, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, I like Pedro Pascal too, but like, I don't know. Like, if it made a ton of money, then who gives a shit? You know,
I
like
mean, yeah, it's just called capitalism, right?
None of the Fast
Who
and
cares
Furious
about
movies
art?
are
All we want is
good.
dollars.
None of
Dollars,
the Fast and
man.
Furious movies are
The
good, but
prettiest
they still
art that
crank
capitalism
out
cares
sequels.
about is like the presidential portrait on the dollar. Yeah.
Speaking of Fast and Furious, did you see F9 or
Nope. I haven't seen any of the Fast and Furious movies. I do
neither have
not watch
I.
movies that have more than 4 of the franchise going in. Like I will watch the Marvel movies because I'm already up
Really?
to speed on them. Like if I were not watching the Marvel movies,
But
I
you
had
watch
not
Star
watched them, I would
Wars.
not watch them.
But you watch Star
I mean, I've
Wars.
seen the Star Wars movies. Like that's
But you've
already
seen
a
all the
sunk
sequel
cost, you know?
films. You've seen the original trilogy. You've seen the
Yeah.
prequels, and then
I said
yeah.
I won't watch new franchises already like
Oh,
that.
new
Like I grew up
franchises.
watching these movies, but I like if I were starting Marvel at Phase 4, I would go to the Avengers movies and say fuck it, everything else. You know, maybe watch Thor Ragnarok because in that counterfactual world, I would still watch Thor Ragnarok because Thor Ragnarok is
Okay.
my favorite.
Well,
But yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
I guess
yeah.
like if I had to give like an actual movie that I'm like pissed off, like other than the ones that you've mentioned, the Ryan Reynolds movie, Free Guy, like
Free
that
Guy.
movie can fuck off.
Although I
Like,
do like Taika Waititi, so I will give it a chance. The
it's still
benefit
gonna
of the doubt.
suck ass. Like Ryan Reynolds is just going to do the
What
Ryan
about
Reynolds thing.
Shang-Chi?
Where
You haven't said good things to me about Shang-Chi.
I
Yeah,
mean, again, like it just,
Shang-Chi. Yeah.
I just feel kind of personally insulted by the movie because it feels like the movie is trying to pander to people who look like me. Like it's trying to be like Black Panther, but for Asians. And like, I don't know, like I've said before, like I don't really give a shit about things like that. It's like just make a good movie first and foremost. Like the whole like, like Asian pride. I mean, I look, I'm all for that. I very much am proud of my ethnicity. Like I am proud of who I am. Just don't cram that shit in your fucking movie. Like be a good movie first and then have and that like all that should be secondary. All that should be complementary to the movie. Like that should not be your main focus of the movie. Be a good movie first. But from the trailers, this does not look like a good movie. This looks like mediocre at best and like fucking terrible at worst. So like if for a movie that's trying to promote itself as like a Hong Kong style like kung fu action movie, when your fight scenes are not even that impressive to look at, then like what the fuck else is there for me to look forward to? You know, it's like you can't get the fight scenes down, then why should I give a shit?
So Timmy, you're not looking forward to Shang-Chi?
No.
I
I
mean,
mean, I feel like I'm justified with my like what I'm saying makes sense.
I mean, I
right?
agree.
Like,
I mean,
feel
I think the
yeah.
trailer looked kind of, I don't know. I'm generally impressed with Marvel trailers, like the Thor Ragnarok trailer, the Black Widow trailer, the Eternals trailer. Like they're all really, really solid, right? But this one was just like,
And then
all
this
right,
one looked like
yeah,
it sucked ass.
it
So
looks like a movie.
also very
So
tasteful, Marvel. The worst trailer out of all the ones that you produced just happens to be the one with all the Asians in it. Congratulations. How tasteful,
oh
Marvel.
yeah, very tasteful. So,
So,
but no, I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm intrigued to see them do something different.
I
With
mean, I'll still go see
yeah,
it because it's a Marvel movie and I kind of have to go see them at this point. But
yeah,
it's like,
you feel
I don't know.
obliged. That's why you're
Yeah.
gonna watch Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Yeah, but that looks like it's actually like funny, you know? Like I'll
Really?
get like
I
meme
mean, yeah.
enjoyment
I
out of
mean,
the movie. It's like
I
I
love to
won't
see
get meme
Don
enjoyment.
Cheadle try to act as an imposing villain.
It's
I don't
like
know, like yeah,
YMS had this like great saying. It's like I really enjoy amazing movies and amazingly shitty movies. Like, and I don't
yeah.
care for like average
See,
movies.
I
Like
want to have a segment
Space
about
Jam
why
2,
the fuck
yeah.
so bad it's good movies are a thing and how they work. I
And
was
we'll get to that when
unconvinced, and then I watched The Room last week. I'm finally becoming a film bro.
yeah, but then I'll torture you by recommending like Dougal and like the open season
fuck
trilogy and stuff like
you.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Freddy Got Fingered and stuff like that.
Oh
So
god, oh god. So you know what
but
I think
yeah,
we
like
just did? I think we
but
just
yeah,
recorded
like
another 2-hour episode.
yeah, don't worry, we'll cut
Fuck.
it down. But like yeah,
Yeah.
Space Jam 2 looks amazingly shitty, but like Shang-Chi just looks average. Like, and I'd rather
Yeah.
see an amazingly shitty movie than an average movie. So
That makes sense. I mean, there are two sides of the distribution, good, bad, and it gets better as you get further along. So
mhm.
yeah, I mean, it makes sense. So.
Yeah, in a way, like one or two or three out of tens like are more fun and entertaining than like
I mean, they're more
4, 5, and
memorable,
6 out of
you
tens.
know.
Yeah.
Like again,
So yeah.
it's an extreme, right? Like my ratings on Letterboxd look like a normal distribution, right? So I think I mean, it's definitely skewed to the left, but yeah, I'm taking a stats class right now. Sorry, so yeah,
Yeah, whatever.
yeah.
Anyway, that's about it. Unless you have like anything else you want to add or anything like that. Any other movies you want to mention or?
We'll just sit here in awkward silence. Hold on, get a minute.
I mean, if you got nothing else, like that's fine. We can just like we can
Timmy,
just
you want an outro?
Well, what are we recommending first?
Oh fuck yeah, that's a
Yeah,
thing.
you forgot about the
Yeah.
fucking main point of our podcast, there, buddy.
Yeah.
So.
Hold on, I have to pull up the IMDb. Do. Actually, made an IMDb account today. I feel like a real film buff today. Yeah. So next week, I am recommending a 1985 Belarusian film called Come and See. It's supposedly one of the best films of all time. It follows a Belarusian kid during the Nazis' invasion of Belarus during World War II. It has a really interesting production story. The Soviets tried to suppress it. It was directed by Alim Klimov. I probably butchered that. Sorry
Names
if
are
we have any
hard.
Belarusian members of the audience here, but it was
Probably
suppressed
not,
by
but still.
the Soviet Union for like almost 10 years. And he cared about the project enough to try to like still like produce it. All of the cast are not actors, right? They're trained specifically for this film. They're all Belarusian. It's all in Belarus, takes place there during the Soviet Union. Yeah, I'm excited to see. It's supposed to look really fucking good.
Yeah, apparently it's like
Yeah.
the greatest war film of all time, perhaps.
Yeah.
I look forward to see if the movie
I
holds
really
up to
like
its reputation.
1919,
So
but like I don't know.
I mean 1917.
Oh damn it! I was going for the poke at your joke poke at your movie that you really hate. So
I was gonna
yeah.
say you can't even. Jesus Christ, this is
Dude, it's
why
like
I'm the funny
11:30,
one.
and I'm starting to.
Whatever, it's fine. Anyway, if you don't want to be spoiled for Come and See, make sure you watch the movie before we talk about it next
Come and
episode.
listen next week.
Yeah, come and listen to us discussing Come and See. And you especially don't have an excuse to not watch it because it's on fucking YouTube. Like just type up Come and See. It's like the first thing that pops up. So you have no excuse. So yeah, make sure you watch it. We'll be going into full spoilers as we normally do. But other than that, yeah, that's all I got.
Hey Timmy, you want an outro?
Okay, bye-bye.